although we're currently in the Dolmen Wood. Our motley band of heroes had made their way to the small village of Drigbolton, following the path of a fallen star. When they arrived in this previously starving village, they found it in the height of prosperity. Everyone was gleeful, praising Gale for delivering them from the famine. The deliverance had taken the form of this fallen star and this crater, which seemingly every day fills up with this rose-pink gelatinous goo, which the locals have learnt is nourishing and pleasant to eat, and has saved their entire village from the famine. So they regard it as veritable manna from heaven. Now, RPCs, particularly Friar Dunstan, we're a little bit unsure about this. I think it's fair to say. And they carried on various explorations. They stayed in the village for a little bit before learning that the laird of the village lived in a place called the Oast house to the north of Drigbolton. They travelled there and found what appeared to be perhaps a fragment of the star lodged in a fountain, and surrounding it were a number of marble statues of nude, nubile people. All of these statues seemed to be animated by some vital force and were getting busy and producing more statues at a rapidly accelerated rate. Going inside, they encountered animated portraits of the previous laird, arguing about who should be in charge of the village and how the current laird obviously wasn't doing the right job. Friar Dunstan, about his wits' end, was having none of that. Gave him a blast of the old holy sound, let the bells ring out, and shredded them all to so much tatters of canvas and splatters of red paint. They continued exploring the Oast house, and they made their way into a small sort of kitchen area, and they could hear from a doorway sort of like muffled sort of cries of panic and shout. They stumbled into the main kitchen area to find a horrible conglomeration of meats, offal, and other products rising up, flailing tentacles of sinew and bile. From just beyond, they could hear the whimpering of someone, presumably in a small pantry or something similar. But their way was blocked by this huge conglomeration of meat and offal. As we begin the game, this creature turns towards them. They see the skulls of sheep with eyeballs falling out of them, the heads of pigs, animated, seemingly even a blasphemous form of life, as this creature roars from its many mouths and totters towards them.
Shall we deal with it, gentlemen?
Probably, unless anyone wants to talk to it.
As you say that, Lieutenant, a ropey trail of what look to be sausages or perhaps black puddings flail out of this creature, bursting out of the central blasphemous mass of the creature and lunging directly towards you.
Do we get a chance to react? Could I dive across and knock the lieutenant out of the way or something?
Unfortunately, no. It has literally turned towards you and these tentacles have burst out of it. So what is your AC, Lieutenant?
I feel like I've got a pressing engagement elsewhere.
That is. Shut my character down.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
Come on. Camel. Oh, there we go.
The creature continues to roar incoherently. in this strangulated, wet-sounding growl as it flails about at you. The first tendril bounces off the armour of the lieutenant. More tendrils burst forward from this heaving mass of offal, aiming towards each of you. One of them zooms towards the friar, trying to entangle him, trying to wrap around him. And luckily for you, Friar, as you sort of jump back and this tendril flaps uselessly, you can see that it's actually composed of seemingly like a string of sausages, but as it's flailing around, the skins are splitting and the very meat itself inside is beginning to quest outwards like some form of unholy limb reaching out towards you. Another tendril jettisons towards Big Mick. And Big Mick, with deft accuracy, jumps a couple of steps backwards, and this tendril's just not able to reach him. The final one lashes out towards Jackdaw.
Well,
See, that's a lifetime of the butchery trade, you see.
And as this tendril reaches towards you, Jackdaw, you actually pull out one of your knives and you chop off the end of it, which is like a single sausage. The tentacle flails back, but this single sausage is still like flexing and moving on the floor as though it's a living creature. Okay, now since it's NPCs versus PCs, we're not going to worry about too much about rolling for initiative, so I'm just going to go in the order you are on my screen. So, Friar, what do you want to do?
I just want to smack it.
Okay, so now bear in mind you're only near the tendrils at the minute. The actual central mass of it is a bit further back. You can move in and try and strike the central mass, or are you striking at the tentacle? Even now is flailing around and trying to grab purchase on you.
I want to get in nice and close, start cutting large parts off the body.
Okay, that is absolutely fine. Make your attack roll.
That's an 11.
Okay. That is exactly what you need to hit, so roll your damage.
Oh my god. So that's 3 points of damage.
Okay, no problems. You start carving bits of meat off this creature, and now you're close in. You can see that its body is just like, it's like someone's just taken like a load of hams, pigs, pork shoulders, loins of lamb, and just the heads of many creatures that you would find in a butchery, and jammed them together with sausages, offal, various other substances that are now leaking out of it that you don't even want to think about, and somehow imbued this mass with a form of life. As you're hacking at it, it barely even seems to register the pain. Its skull-like face is lashing around and howling incoherently as these tendrils continue to lash about. Lieutenant, you've seen the friar step in and like carve a big slice of ham off this bad boy. What are you doing?
it's tea sorted. Let's. I'll try and get rid of some of these pesky tendrils.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Make your attack roll.
Okay. Whipping out my face sword of doom.
Nice.
Strike. Wait for roll 20 to catch up.
Yeah, I've seen it. You've done it. So, roll your damage. Okay, well, you've rolled a 1, so that makes it a 5. Okay, so you have successfully severed one of the tentacles. It flops to the ground, leaving only 3 remaining, writhes for a little bit and lies still.
Being a fighter type, I get a second attack, I believe.
Yeah, go for it.
5. So, with a backhand stroke, the first stroke, easily clove through one of those. Cut through a link of sausage. Second one.
Unfortunately, your second attack does not manage to do significant damage to the creature, but one of its tendrils has been stilled and is no longer writhing in your direction. As we go to Big Mick, you all hear a frightened voice from the small wooden door beyond this creature, a voice saying, don't let it grab hold of you! For Lord's sake, don't let it grab hold of you! Big Mick.
Okay, I'm gonna make a somewhat strategic withdrawal. Looking to shoot right into the heart of it.
Okay, not a problem.
Maybe find some sort of weakness.
Make your attack roll. Its AC is 11.
Oh. It's a 2 I rolled there, so nowhere near. I was just a warning shot across the bows.
Yep, you fire your warning shot and it arcs over it and sticks in the wooden door behind it. You hear the frightened voice from behind the door like, oh! Jackdaw. This creature slowly squelching its way forward, blocked only by the friar seemingly at the moment, as the lieutenant's fighting the tentacles on.
So looking at the map, whereabouts is this creature in relation to us? I presume we're the token? Yeah, okay. That's not good. Would... I guess I'm going to make some distance as well between myself and this creature, and
That's fine.
I'll get the short bow out. I'll try a shot into one of the many heads, apparently.
Indeed, its AC is 11, so make your roll.
Here goes. Blink. 14.
Boom, roll your damage.
5.
Excellent. So you fire a couple of arrows into this creature. They sink into the gelatinous mass of its central core. You see some fluids leaking out, glistening as they coat the hams and the hock bones that make up its form. But it's very difficult to tell exactly how much damage you're doing to this thing.
Yeah, because it looks like it should be dead already.
Indeed, yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on to the creature. Now what it's going to do is, it's the only person who's close enough for it to attack, not using its tentacles, is going to be the friar. So it's going to try and bite the friar, and then it's going to attack the other 3 of you with its 3 remaining tentacles. So, it has 2 bite attacks from its many heads, so they will be at the friar. What's your AC, friar?
19.
So that is a hit. That is also a hit. Okay, so let's see how much damage we do. So from the first bite, it's only a 1. From the second bite, it's an 8. So as you're carving this thing up, you're fighting it back with the Sword of Gale. These 2, you think they're sheep skulls, close their teeth, finding somehow a way to penetrate your armor, and you feel these, what should be long dead canine teeth, sinking into your flesh, causing you 9 points of damage. Okay, so the tentacles, one on each on the lieutenant, Big Mick and Jackdaw. So for the lieutenant, that's not going to do it. Big Mick. What's your AC, Mick?
10, I think. Sheepskin coat.
So that's a hit. How about you, Jackdaw?
13.
So that's not going to hit. So it's just the one tentacle on Big Mick. So this tendril, this slimy length of sausage wraps around your waist, Big Mick, and starts squeezing you, causing you 5 hit points of damage.
Aye.
And now that you've been successfully grabbed by one of the sausage strings, you are entangled, suffering a -3 penalty to armor class and hit rolls. Since as you're trying to move, this animated, slimy tendril of sausages and offal crawls all over you, restricting your movement, causing you to slip and slide.
Tell my wife I love her.
Okay, Fry Dunstan.
Eva.
It's a thought that counts.
I am going to cast Spiritual Weapon and use that to attack him.
Okay, so as you cast it, a phantasmal image of the Sword of Gale appears and most definitely hits the central mass of the creature.
For 5 points of damage.
Okay, you can see there's now vast chunks of it lying on the floor, but it's still moving. I mean, you're not even sure how it's moving in the first place. Okay, so we move on to the lieutenant, who's valiantly trying to fend off these tentacles with his fey sword. What do you do, Lieutenant?
In my own safety to one side for a moment, I will sever the strand that's securing Mick.
Okay, now I will tell you, in order to free him, you need to basically kill the tentacle. However, when you attack the tentacle, because it's wrapped around Mick, you've got a 1 in 3 chance of damaging Mick instead of the tentacle.
Can I invoke the Castles and Crusades knowledge of butchery rule, John? On page 123.
Well, much as I know that's absolute horseshit. If you can come up with some, because fair play, you have been raised as a butcher's boy, so if you can come up with some way that you might be able to give a bit of a Brucey bonus to the lieutenant with your knowledge of butchery, I give him a little modifier. I'm fine with that.
So I'm thinking that I'm used to handling all this slippery sausages and offal and all that, and I reckon I might be able to, by wriggling and some clever handling, I could perhaps do my bit to help free myself, contribute to the effort of freeing myself.
Do you know what? Yeah, I'll go with that. So what I'm going to say with that, Lieutenant, it's only going to be a 1 in 4 chance that you'll hit Mick.
Nice.
Instead of a 1 in 3 chance.
Shall I roll a d4?
Well, why don't you roll a d4 first, because obviously the armor class will be different if you hit him, Mick. Anything but a 1, grand.
Don't say that.
You are absolutely fine. So make your attack roll. Mick sort of manages to slither his way around and sort of hold up the tendril between his 2 hands for you to cut with your sword.
Yeah.
Make your attack roll. It's AC 11. Yeah, roll your damage.
Damage. Come on.
And four would have been what you need, but I'm going to say, because you got double that, I'm going to say you've actually managed to take out 2 of the tentacles. Since you've been spending, normally you would get 2 attacks, but since you've been spending your whole action helping Big Mick, I'm going to say that you slice through the tentacle that he was sort of holding up. You drop the remnants to the floor, Big Mick. You are now unencumbered. And as another one starts sliming its way towards Big Mick, you just literally step in its way, Lieutenant, and hack it to the floor. There is only one tentacle remaining. Big Mick.
Wow, nice one, Lieutenant. I'll have to tell my old man about that one. He'll like that. He might have a job for you when you get back.
Thank you very much, but no thanks.
Well, yeah, probably sensible. And I'll refocus and aim my crossbow back at the bulk of the beast.
Okay, make your roll.
And loose.
Your crossbow flies true. Your bolt sinks into the mass of the creature. Roll your damage.
Is it a D6 for a crossbow?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's all right. It's still 2 points of damage. Your bolt sinks into the gelatinous mass of this creature, and you guys are whittling it down as it's moving, and you're hacking at it. Bloody chunks of preserved meat are just cascading off it as it moves. There's a trail, almost like a slug-like trail of half-melted marrowbone and jelly sliming the floor behind it as it moves. Jackdaw.
I feel like we need to cook it, but we haven't really got the facility. The flamethrower.
Is there a line of sight between the sort of feast hall and the kitchen? Because I think that's a door.
There is, yeah.
Yeah. So if the beast is sort of lurching around in this area here.
Yeah, it's almost. You see its movements are obviously compromised. It's got that sort of drunken like sway as it's moving now.
So I would be, if it at all possible, try and make it to the table, jump on the table, and keep shooting.
Yep, go for it. Absolutely grand.
Where did I put the sheet? Here we go. Okay, so short bow, plink. That's a hit.
Yeah. Roll your damage.
And 6 damage.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's some Jerry Bruckheimer music on the background.
Your bolt sinks into this creature, and you must have hit one of the central pieces that's holding it together, because literally most of this creature falls apart. It's at the minute it's little more than 2 sheep skulls held together with sinew and one last flailing tentacle, put my teeth in, of offal. You can tell that you've nearly finished it. Very little of it remains. Unfortunately, it's still going to get to make those 2 bite attacks against the friar. First one misses. Second one hits. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so this thing almost springs forward, dragging its remaining skulls by this sausage-like tentacle, and one of the skulls sinks its teeth into your leg, Friar, causing you a mighty 7 hit points of damage.
Ouch.
Then we have the one remaining tentacle. Now, since you guys have pretty much already killed it, and like the friars in front of it, I'm just going to roll to attack the friar with the tentacle, which will not hit. So, friar, this thing's almost down, but it's still sort of dragging itself around, propelling itself with its one tentacle. One of its skull still has its teeth sunk into your leg. You look down into the sightless, milky eyes of a decapitated lamb's skull, bits of your blood dribbling across the chalk white bone. What do you do?
Okay. So I want to sort of gale and to swing at the bit that's kind of stuck on me and kind of cut it off. For 17 and 7 points of damage.
Okay, you smash this skull with the sword of Gale, and as you do, the final whatever animating force was holding it together seems to give out, and it collapses to the floor in a cascade of salted meats and other butchery products. For a few moments you all catch your breath, and then an eerie silence descends on the kitchen.
Can I call out to whoever's in the pantry that the creature is destroyed if you want to come out?
You hear the frightened voice from the pantry say, I can't, it's crushed my leg. What of them things got under the door and grabbed me while I was trying to seek shelter in the pantry.
Okay, I'm coming in. And I will walk over and try and open the pantry door.
Okay, that is absolutely fine. I'll move the token over. And I'll
Is it me or is anybody else feeling hungry after that encounter?
Okay, so you look through the door into the pantry. It's a small cold room full of marble shelves with jars, bottles, crates, etc. You can see a man wearing peasant clothes is lying, and like a sort of woolen cap, is lying on the floor. One of his legs has sort of wound marks on them. You can see bits of blood, and he appears to be sort of holding onto a barrel, like he sort of dragged himself as far away from the door as he could.
What's your name, good man?
He says, oh, begging your pardon, sir. He says, Gottfried Willems, my name, sir.
Ah, Godfrey. Are you the laird's manservant?
Well, that's right, sir.
Okay. And tell me, what happened here?
He says, well, I was just coming down to get the lads some provisions and some food, bit of bread, bit of cheese, bit of cold meats, nothing too extravagant. But he'd been working for quite some time, and he sometimes forgets to eat, sir. And when I was going into the kitchen, suddenly all the meats rose up and came at me. I didn't know what to do, sir. So I shut myself in the pantry, and I was just about to try and grab that barrel over there and drag it in the way of the door. One of those horrible things came slithering under the door and twisted my leg. Oh, I was worried it was going to twist it off, sir.
Ah, and lucky you were, it didn't. And tell me, how long have you been here?
He says, oh, must be at least a couple of hours, sir. He says, probably even more than that. I don't know, to be honest, sir. I seem to have been stuck in here forever, but it can't have been that long.
Ah. And what day do you know it to be?
He says, I think it's Wednesday, sir.
Okay. And what day do I know it to be?
Thursday.
Sorry?
Thursday.
Thursday, okay.
You think he's been in there for at least a day?
Okay. Cool. And what can you tell me about these orange crystals?
When you say that, he says, oh, I don't know nothing about it, sir. Leastways, all I know is that it must have been a couple of weeks ago. There was this almighty banging sound from out in the garden. I didn't want to disturb the lad because he'd been working, sir, and but so I was going to finish up my chores and go out and see what it was. And then, as I went out, I noticed the statues in the garden started to move. And by the time I made it inside to go and tell the lad, all these orange crystals had started growing out of it, and they quickly engulfed the north side of the house, sir. As you can see, they started coming through the windows, sir.
When you say quickly, did the crystals grow?
Yeah.
As if. So this growth was quick enough to overtake the area before you could do anything about it?
Yeah, like I say, I came in. I was gonna grab some food for the lad and go down and tell him about the noise and everything. And as I watched, they burst in through the window of the kitchen, and where it touched the meats, that's when they rose up and came for me, sir. And I shut myself in here, quick smart.
John?
Yes.
In the kitchen, is there like any? Does it look like there's any bottles of like spirits, like a brandy or a whiskey or maybe like a sherry or something like that? Just
You have a look around. Yeah, there's a few bottles of spirits and stuff like that. One thing that does strike your notice as you're sort of looking around in the kitchen, and I presume you're being careful not to touch the orange crystals that are like coming through the northern
oh
windows.
yeah. Still
no
well
problems.
clear of them.
One thing you do notice is there's like an old hearth fire, like a fireplace in the kitchen, and as you're looking at it, you can see that the orange crystals appear to have grown right up to where the fire would have been in the hearth. It's obviously out now, but you can see that the crystals that would have been where the fire is have sort of turned like a dark umber, almost black colour, and they appear to be like crumbling away.
So like they didn't like the heat, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a mental note to point that out to the rest of the group as I kind of mull it over in my mind and head back with a drink for the old boy there.
He takes off you and he's like, oh, I don't know if I could, sir. He says, that's the lad's good brandy.
No, that's all right. It's special circumstances.
He says, well, if you're sure, sir.
Yeah.
He looks quite nervous as he like takes the bottle off you, and he has like a couple of little sips at first, and then he has like a big gulp of it.
That's it. I'll square that up with the lead. Don't you worry about that.
Oh, much obliged to you, sir. Much obliged to you. And he passes you the bottle back.
And Fryer, do you reckon we should splash a bit of this on his leg there or something? Clean that up a bit.
Yeah, clean it and bandage it and try and get him back fighting fit. Or
yeah, you think that he's not got any really like severe wounds. You think it's more just the sort of like the shock of it.
Oh, right.
So after you've sort of given him a bit of a stiff drink, you maybe like strapped up his leg a little bit. He does. You sort of help him to his feet, and he can move. He's a bit slow, and he's got a little bit of a limp, but he's certainly mobile. He doesn't look like he's in any danger of keeling over or anything.
Okay.
So Godfrey, did you see? When did you last see the laird?
We've left the laird outside.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
After I chopped his arm off.
Yeah, if you remember, you found him in the hall where the animated portraits were, and he had his hand like stuck in the crystals, but he was frozen. And you guys reached a decision. The only way you could get him out was you chopped his arm off.
Oh Jesus, yeah. Yeah. Oh no, it's all come back to me.
He tells you it's been a while since he's seen the lad, but like he doesn't really know how long he's been locked up in the pantry. So.
And we heard a bunch of noise come from upstairs, didn't we?
Yeah.
Singing.
What's up there? Let's ask him what's up there, and maybe we could get a clue as to what's going on. There's some singing. Can we still hear it now?
It seems to have faded away now.
Oh, okay. All right.
He says, well, upstairs. He says, well, there's the lad's private library. I occasionally go in there to dust. There's a couple of guest rooms. There's there's what my master calls his oratory. He's very keen on looking at the night sky. Is the lad?
Do you want me to take a look, Mick?
Well, I mean,
obviously there's the master's bedroom as well. He says, sort of continuing to prattle onwards.
I could take a quiet look.
Yeah, it might be an idea. I mean, after the thing with the pictures, I'm thinking it might be something to do with that library. Maybe
let's
check
the last room downstairs before we go upstairs. Make sure there's nothing left behind us.
I want no more than flying books. You know what I'm saying?
No flying books. Strict no. Yes, let's. The friar is smart about these things. Let's do that.
Oh yeah, and them orange crystals. I don't think they like fire. Look over at that fireplace there. They've gone all black and.
Which gives me an idea. Do you have more of this? And I will motion towards the spirit. Because we could use it to maybe torch the. And I gesture towards the growths.
The manservant says, "Oh well, there's all sorts of bottles. There's some in here." He gestures at the big barrel, and he says that's got some of the lad's private reserve of ale in it. And yeah, he keeps a good selection of spirits in the kitchen, you know, for when guests call and such. Not that we get many around here, you understand.
All right, Friar. Please lead the glorious troop.
Okay, so I'll heal myself first, and then I'll bring Godfrey out to the laird at the front of the house, and then I will open the door to this room on the left as you walk in to see what's going on there.
Okay, yep. So you lead Godfrey out to where the laird is still sort of nursing his injured stump, and they're both glad to see each other, and he's checking up on how the laird is, etc. You open the door to the left, and as you look into it, you can see it appears to be some sort of comfortable looking study / lounge. There's a couple of bookshelves on the walls. It appears to be arranged for the comfort of reading, smoking, the normal sorts of pursuits that a laird might get up to. There's a nice comfortable couch, little table next to it with a pipe and a little receptacle for his pipe ash. Sat on it, there's a small fireplace.
Okay. So nothing here of interest. Jackdaw, do you want to take a little sly peek upstairs?
I can. I'll be back. John?
Yes.
I'm popping my collar and I'm sneaking upstairs.
Okay, not a problem. So I'm just revealing that part of the map. I hope you can see that. It's just to the right of the map you're in at the minute.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Okay, so as you move up the stairway, which is obviously here.
Stealth mode.
Yep.
Indeed, goes without saying. So you move up the stairs, taking it a little bit slowly. You know, it's an old sort of wooden staircase. You don't want to creak or anything similar to give you away. You find yourself in the upper landing. The northern side of the building is covered with these crystalline extrusions. You see that the stone of the northern wall appears to have been granted a vague semblance of life by the presence of the crystals, and the stone almost appears to be flowing and sort of rippling like a liquid. However, as it does, you can hear the grinding of stone. As you watch, you can see that because of this movement of the wall, the windows to the north, which obviously once had glass in them, the glass is no longer present in the frames. And as you look around, you can see what appears to be 15 or 16 little mice running around the floor, and each of them appears to be composed of shards of fine glass.
No crystal though, just glass.
Just glass. However, as you listen, you suddenly hear a vague, quiet singing from the mice. They appear to be singing some sort of sea shanties in high-pitched, grating voices.
It's Bagpuss. Singing about Bagpuss.
Are they congregating anywhere or just going around the mice?
They just appear to be prancing around, singing these sea shanties in these high-pitched, grating voices that they have like an undertone that very much reminds you of if someone like scraped their fingernails down a blackboard. Obviously, their voice is being produced by perhaps the grating of these glass fragments that make them up.
All right. Well, I will leave them be.
Yeah, they don't appear to be paying you any great notice, to be honest. They're just sort of like almost like marching around doing this little sing-song.
Yeah. I will leave them to it, and I will continue the exploration.
Okay, so which way do you want to go?
I think we're going for the door first.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So I'll reveal that area. Okie dokie. As you walk into this room, it appears to be once had been a large bedroom, but it is entirely in disarray. There are masses of these crystalline extrusions growing around all of the walls, save the one that you have entered. You can see what once looks like it was a four-poster bed in the centre of the room, but now it appears to have been transformed into the likeness of a small sailing ship standing in the centre of the room with bedclothed sails fluttering in an imaginary breeze. Above and around it, the laird's clothes, which must have sprung out of the drawers and the wardrobes imbued perhaps with life by the crystals. They've taken on human-like postures as though worn by invisible people. They stand on the deck of this like bed ship, the clothes whipping around as though in a gale force wind. And they seem to be like acting out the roles as though they're like sailors, you know, so like they're pulling bits of cloth as makeshift rigging, they're putting sails up. They don't appear to have noticed you at the moment, because obviously you are Mr. Stealth.
Yeah, I will leave them be as well.
Okay, at this point I am going to ask you to make a stealth roll to see if they notice you, so it's a dex roll.
Yeah. So that is 26.
Absolutely fine. You just sort of like slide back out of the room and shut the door behind you.
Yep. And we'll go south. If there's, unless this is a wall.
There is a wall there. However, as you move round the stairs, there is a corridor here.
Ah, okay.
And you can see
Down
you can see a couple of doors in this corridor.
Yep, let's try the top door.
Okay, absolutely fine. So you look in there, and this must be one of the guest rooms that Godfried was telling you about. It's simple room, it's respectably furnished, it appears to be free at present of these orange crystalline growths. There's a bed, a small dresser, but it doesn't really have any of the sort of personal touch. It's obviously like a guest room.
Yeah, bland.
Yeah, pretty much.
Given that there's no crystal here, I will actually go in. I'll poke around a bit. So I'll look in the dresser. I'll touch the window, see if it can be opened.
The window can be opened. It's just got like a latch on it. That's fine.
Yeah.
You don't find anything particularly interesting in the dresser. There's like some spare sheets. There's like an evening gown, like a smoking jacket in there, like one of those sort of dressing gown ones. And there's a couple of bars of soap in there.
Mm-hmm. All right. And the bed doesn't look like anyone's been sleeping on it.
No, it doesn't look like anyone's slept in it. It looks as though it's been made fairly recently.
Yep, good. I will leave the room and try the next door.
Okay, you try the next door, and it's pretty much a duplicate of the previous room. It's obviously a second guest bedroom, laid out pretty much identically, save for the fact that the dresser is on the southern wall, and there's a couple of like little sort of night tables against the northern wall, neither of which has anything interesting on them. There's a couple of like blank pieces of parchment. There's like a couple of quills and an ink pot in case someone wants to do some writing, but that's pretty much it.
Okay. No other doors in the corridor?
Not as far as you can see.
Yep. All right. Well, I will. Well, I'll take a look in the corridor to see if there's anything, well, I suppose hidden about it, because I know that there's structure in the house. So I would just want to ascertain whether or not this corridor leads anywhere else. So basically, taking if there's any sort of art on the wall, like moving them about a bit, seeing if there's anything on the wall behind hidden.
Okay.
Stuff.
How long are you taking searching, and how thorough a search are you making?
No, I'm just literally going to take a couple of pieces, move them around a bit, and then just leave. I'm not going over the whole thing.
Make me an intelligence roll.
Okay. Look. Nice. I am become dumber.
Okay,
before.
so you don't find anything secret in this corridor. You look under the paintings, etc.
Yeah,
There's nothing
yeah.
secret there. The only thing you do know is from the outside, because you've seen the outside of the house. So, like you say,
Yeah.
you know the structure here. You know there must be a room here, and there must be a room here. So if there's no entrance in the corridor, and there's none in the sort of hall,
Yeah.
the only other place there could be an entrance is in here.
Yeah, the sea. All right, so I will head down.
Yep, you rejoin your fellows.
So, how do I put it? Upstairs we have what appears to be a crew of independently animate clothing sailing a ship through winds that are not there.
Of
And-
course we do, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw it. And to accompany it, you have a lovely extended family of, I think, field mice made of glass singing sea shanties, seashells, you know?
Just keep with the nautical theme.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
makes perfect sense.
Yes, and a couple of, to return us to some semblance of reality, a couple of guest bedrooms that were actually kind of nice.
And in fact, as Jackdaw's describing this scene, you hear the singing strike up again slightly louder. You can hear these like high-pitched voices from upstairs.
It's the fisherman's friends.
I'll say.
So whilst this was going on, John, could I have had a quick butchers through some of the books on the shelves?
You
Attempting to kind of broaden my understanding of.
in the study.
Yeah, in the study. Yeah.
You most certainly can. So whilst Jackdaw's been doing that, you've been looking along the bookshelves.
Perusing.
The books here appear. They're not like seriously old antiques, but they've got like a bit of age to them. They're mostly on fairly mundane topics. There's some novels there, volumes of poetry, some history books, some geography tomes, philosophical treatises, so forth.
Mostly old crap then.
Yeah. However, there's also a few tomes that you are unable to read, and they appear to be written in Latin.
Oh, like the old Goman stuff that I've run across. I'll half inch them for perusal later by an authority that might know more than me.
Okay. So you've got 3 Latin tomes.
Aha! I am cultured. It's as simple as that. All these years of hard study, and all I needed to do was half inch a few books off the shelf and become instantly cultured.
Oh, you're not going to use them as boosts to reach the top shelf of a cupboard or anything.
No, I was thinking of using them to prop up my new bed in the farmhouse. The floor's a bit uneven.
One other thing you notice, Mick, as you're sort of turning away from the bookshelf, having sort of satisfied your curiosity about them, is as you turn around, you can see on the northern wall there is like a hearth, a fireplace.
Yep.
On the northern wall, and hanging above it is what appears to be a glass case. Underneath it there's one of those little brass plaques, and it says "The right arm of the brass man." And there's what looks to be a brass human arm that's sort of jagged at the end. Perhaps it's been broken off like a larger statue or something, and it's in this glass case, so hanging above the fireplace.
Do we know anything about a brass man? I'll call over the others and say, "Here, what? It's a brass."
Just as Jack does coming down the stairs, you all hear Big Mick go like, "Hey!"
There's an arm hanging about here.
The laird's right arm that was severed as well.
Hmm.
Well, they are. As fate would have it.
looking at it in a little more detail, you can see it's not animated because there's none of the crystals in here yet. It looks very much as though it was perhaps once part of a larger, human-sized bronze statue, and at some point the arm's been snapped or hacked off, and it's now just hanging in this glass case, perhaps as some sort of curio or something similar.
I wonder if we could rig this up for the old laird somehow. Or would that be just a bit too weird?
Why don't we ask him?
Yeah, okay. We'll broach the subject.
All right, I will not so subtly smash the glass case and grab hold of the brass arm. Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, so make yourself a note that you have a brass arm. You reckon you could probably get 150 gold pieces for that, easy.
Woo! Well,
just because of the brass and the it being obviously being a bit antique.
He can go armless then. I'll flog this down the market. Right.
Oh, turn into thieves.
Stick it on the list. Thieves. Reappropriation.
Well, this is the laird's house.
All right. Well, we'll ask the laird if he wants his brass arm, or if he's happy for us to have it for saving his bacon and his sausages and his black pudding and his sheep's heads.
So what's the plan, guys?
I'd like to cast detect secret doors and see if I can find out how to get into the rooms that are clearly missing.
Okay. So are you literally going to cast it and just walk around the house
That seems to be how it's written to work, yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly how I'm reading it. Okay, so you wander around the house. You don't particularly find anything with the exception of two places. And I'll show you what those are. Upstairs, as you sort of look through the room, you can see the ship that was described by Jackdaw. So in here, you can see that pretty much entirely buried by these orange crystals, there is a door here. You can just about make out the top of the door frame sticking out of the crystal extrusions. Also, in the pantry here, there is a concealed trapdoor, and it's obviously been very deliberately concealed. You wouldn't have noticed it if it wasn't for your spell.
Okay. So since the laird and Godfrey are outside, can I lift the trapdoor in the pantry and see what's going on down there?
You most certainly can. So, it takes you a little while to find the edges of it, because like I say, it's been pretty darn well concealed. Someone's obviously put some serious time into hiding it. But eventually you heave open this trapdoor to reveal the chamber below. And I hope you can see that. I've just made it visible.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're peering down into what appears to be a cellar. There are casks of ale, wine, brandy, along crocks of fermenting cabbage, apples, fish, etc.
And is there anything else, or is it just like a food cellar? And
it appears to be a food cellar. However, with your spell still active, as you sort of walk down there, you are sensing another concealed entrance in this room.
Ah.
And again, this one has been deliberately concealed.
Okay, so again, I'd like to... Is it a trapdoor, or is it like a door in the wall? Or
It appears to be another trapdoor. It's like a flagstone that you'd have to lift up that's not been cemented down.
Okay. So then I'd like to lift up that flagstone and see if there's...
Okay, no problems. So you lift up this flagstone and it heads down into a very small tunnel, and then there's literally 10 foot long. Then there's a small flight of stairs leading up, and there's another flagstone that you have to lift up, which you do easily now you know where it is. It opens into what appears to be a large, sparsely furnished, vaulted cellar. There's a ladder in the northeast corner. You can see a large desk, a padded wooden chair, sort of clustered at the far end. In the centre of this chamber is a 6-foot tall silver cage, and there are splatters of red wax on the floor of the cage. A long green carpet embroidered with hexagonal patterns in yellow is spread along the centre of the room, and there appear to be books and all manner of flasks with various liquids you don't recognise, all sort of clustered around in this room. As you look around further, you see that next to the desk at the far end, there are 3 wrought iron braziers standing beside the desk. Dozens of candles and the melted remains of hundreds more are perched precariously upon them. On the desk are quill and ink and several stacks of books.
Does the room look like it's been used recently? Is like the candles kind of fresh and?
Yeah, quite recently. There's some of the candles that it's obviously not been used in like the last day or two, but you would say it's probably been used in the last couple of weeks, judging by like some of the candles in here.
Okay. So can I examine the desk and the books in particular?
You most certainly can. As you're looking through these books, you find one of them appears to be a dark, almost black covered book with small spidery writing on the front, describing it as the Black Book of Laragrub. As you open it, yeah, it's LLAREGGUB.
Okay.
There's no authorial name or credit on it. As you open it, you can see that it's a work in archaic Latin, and as you flick through it, the blasphemous pages spinning before your eyes, it appears to describe, amongst other things, many types of demonic summoning. As you open it, you see there's one of those ribbon bookmarks in it, and as you flick to the page that was obviously last used, you can see it describes an elaborate summoning, a ritual for bringing an entity known as Wormuth to Earth. The ritual doesn't seem to state what the exact effects of the ritual would be, save bringing this entity to Earth. However, it clearly describes that this entity dwells above the world. And it describes the use of the silver cage, various patterns and sacrificial items that must be used for this conjuration.
Okay. So I'll what did you say, Mick? Half inch?
Half inch.
Yeah, I'll half inch that book.
Okay, so you put that in your pack. Like you say, you're looking through like the big pile of books. Underneath it is a book that is called the Encyclopedia of Stellar Anatomy by Calcidus the Stargazer. Now, this is actually 6 books that have been placed on top of each other, but they're part of the same work. They appear to describe the makeup of stellar bodies. The book's contents are of somewhat dubious authenticity, to be honest. He doesn't quote any sources of information. It's all just sort of freely written out. But you can see that this it appears to be describing stellar entities as being like humans, like man, in that their bodies are composed of various organs and parts that go up to make the whole. However, unlike the body of a man, when a stellar entity is fractured or when it is broken, the different parts continue to live on after their fashion, although each seeks to rejoin together to make the whole.
Does it say anything about how you might prevent it making the whole, or?
It seems to suggest that such things can be destroyed or they can be moved further apart. However, in very vague terms, it describes that these organs, if you will, they have a power to to compel people to work for them to help bring these organs together.
Okay. And it doesn't give any indication of how they can be destroyed?
No.
No, that would be too easy, I suppose. Okay.
You see, though, it does give something of a description of the common organs of stellar entities. It describes that each of them have at their centre what it refers to as the core of the star, which is like the central mass of it. However, without the other organs, these entities cannot interact in any meaningful manner.
Sorry, John, you broke up there. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, it describes that each of these entities has a core, but without the other organs being combined with it, they can't interact in any meaningful manner.
Okay. Okay, so they sound like they're helping us with the Drake Bolton problem, so we'll half-inch them too. Is that all the books on the table?
There's a few other bits of writing. There's an untitled book bound in plush red velvet. A silver spoon lays on the table next to it. The book has 50 pages, the first 40 of which bear remarkable illustrations of butterflies. The quality and realism is ridiculous. They almost look as though they could fly off the page.
Okay.
There are also what appear to be 2 scrolls in a carved wooden jewellery box. And there is an unbound collection of a number of parchment pages gathered in a black leather portfolio. These seem to chronicle the life's work of the Laird of the Oath House. It's a rambling history of research and self-enlightenment, bringing together astronomy, astrology, and demonology in a way that's almost certainly not approved of by the church. Looking at these notes, and it takes you several minutes to read through them because it's pretty much written in a stream of consciousness style, it seems clear that the Laird, or certainly whoever was using this, seems to have mistook the summoning ritual in the Black Book as being sort of metaphorical, not being an actual, you would actually summon a creature. He seems to have taken it as some sort of metaphor for restoring plenty and renewing vigour to the land.
Okay. Okay. And scrolls, can I read them? Is there anything interesting there?
Okay, as you're looking at the scrolls, one of them, you can sense like a faint hint of magic on them. One appears to be a spell that causes light to burst forth, a continual light spell. The other appears to be a spell that is designed specifically to contact creatures who dwell not on this world.
Okay.
And obviously that's contact other plane.
Are we still upstairs at this point?
You can pretty much be in which room you see fit. 'Cause you've all got time to explore. There's no imminent danger. So if you want to kind of a poke around somewhere, feel free to shout out.
Well, I think I might mosey on down and find out what the friar's up to.
Okay, yeah. So as you sort of make your way through, eventually sort of locating the friar in this hidden sort of summoning workshop that's linked to the cellar.
I'll have a quick swig of that brandy and some of that pickled cabbage on the way by also.
Yeah, you grab yourself a bit of sauerkraut as you're heading past.
Yeah, that's good for your digestion, all them... all that
essential vinegars.
Microbiological stuff.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'll see what the friar's up to. It's a bit of a turn up for the books there, Friar.
Yeah, certainly. Black magic. Not good.
One thing you did notice as you're walking sort of down the stairs and you happened to glance out of one of the windows, Big Mick, as you were sort of coming back down to find the friar is, you looked out and you saw the fountain, the garden with the cavorting statues in it, and you noticed there was a considerably larger amount of them than when you entered the building.
Okay.
All right.
We might need to do something about that.
Do I get the impression that they could get militant, or are they sort of well occupied?
That they appear to be quite busily occupied with each other.
Yeah, you did hear you did say there was a sound of grinding stone, so I guess that might be coming from there.
Got to get a little bump and grind.
Okay. So I'll take everything that's in the study, all the books, all the papers, all the scrolls.
Did you want us to grab your wheelbarrow there, Friar?
No, it's all right.
Okay.
I can carry a half dozen books.
Okay.
But thanks for your...
Was that cage, that cage, was it open or shut? That silver cage?
It doesn't actually seem to have like a door on it.
All
However, like the bars are far enough apart that you could like slide through the bars, and you can see that on each of the points of the cage, there's obviously a candle been burnt down inside it that's now burnt down to just a knob.
Right. What do you reckon that's all about then, Friar?
It's all part of the summoning.
Doesn't see there's nothing in it though, so has it gone wrong?
I suspect that whoever it was, the Laird or Godfrey or whoever, didn't really know what they were doing. And reading through their papers, I'm guessing if the Laird, it must be the Laird because he's the one who's written the history.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So then the Laird thought he was doing a ceremony to enrich the land, and actually he has summoned a creature from another plane. So I think we should go and look at the fountain and see if what the source of these crystals is, and whether or not it's keen on brandy and fire.
Well, I think it's not. And don't forget, there's another door with some crystals we could set fire to.
Yeah, I wonder if we did it from the source, could we kill all the crystals?
Maybe.
And not risk burning down the house.
Always the conscientious friar. That's what I like to see.
But let us go and do that, because the crystals and the statues seem to be multiplying at an alarming rate. And then we will have a heart-to-heart with the Laird on his evil doing.
Did your books have anything to say about the jelly?
No.
No.
I will speak to the Laird to confirm, but my sense is that this is a separate problem that the Laird has caused. Because the crystals only seem to have arrived on Wednesday, whereas the jelly has been here for many weeks.
Okay.
So what's the plan, guys?
I think we're going to go out and around to the fountain with a few bottles of brandy and a torch.
Okay, so you head out into the garden, the small, neat gardens, hedges, low brick walls that we described previously. It's now fairly rammed with these buff-looking, naked male and female statues, all copulating madly with each other in the garden. As you watch a number of the female statues give birth to smaller marble statues, which immediately starts rapidly growing to the height of a full person before resuming the previous activity.
Okay.
As you're in the garden, as you can see from the map, the crystalline growths appear to lead back to the fountain.
I think we'd like to examine the fountain and see where the source of the crystalline growth is.
Okay, so you head to the fountain. As you're getting near it, sort of threading your way between these statues, you can just about make out there's some sort of pale object, maybe a sphere or an ovoid about 10 foot in diameter, that appears to be like under the water of the fountain, and the crystals seem to be spreading out from that.
So 10 foot in diameter.
Indeed.
Okay.
These things, the instances of these things coming to life, John, is that always when there's a fairly significant presence of crystal?
It certainly is.
Okay.
You know that wherever inanimate objects have been touched by the crystals, it seems to imbue them with some sort of blasphemous half-life.
Okay. And is there much water in the fountain?
Not a great deal, to be honest. Most of it's been taken up by this sphere.
Okay, so what I suggest we do is pour a bottle of brandy over the sphere, specifically around the crystals that are leaving it, the two parts that are going up to the house, and then let's set the brandy on fire, and then let's see what happens.
Okay.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay, so you start preparing to do that. At this point, guys, we're going to have a quick 5-10 minute break for people to go and refresh their drinks, nip to the bathroom, etc. Then we'll carry on in 5 or 10 minutes with you trying to burn these crystalline fragments. So, back in a little bit, guys.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
So, John, it looks like we're burning wizard houses again.
Yeah, it's starting to become a bit of a disturbing trend, isn't it?
Yeah.
And enjoyed that scum and villainy episode there, Johannes.
Which one?
With John on his podcast on Red Dice Diaries with you and Hannah and John chatting about.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Sounds pretty cool, man. I've got my Blades in the Dark out, but I might try and delve into it again this weekend. It's just not the same. It's just not the same. That I like the idea of having the ship and flying around.
Yeah, it's an entirely like diametrically opposed theme where Blades is a pressure cooker.
Shut in. Yeah.
Yeah, and in Scum and Villainy, you're supposed to be like, oh, we messed up here. Ugh.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Which I expect is going to happen with us sooner or later.
Eventually.
When we get that one session where like our rolls aren't amazing and we just be like,
yeah,
fucked it.
Or where it actually makes sense for me to just keep on cranking the heat valve, because and we did one of those sessions already, but it's like, for example, the last one where we did the luxury cruiser thing.
Did you stream it? I suppose you streamed it, did you?
Yeah, they're all streamed they're all on my Twitch.
Oh.
And most of them are on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think everything's on YouTube as well.
I could watch them, couldn't I? That might be a good idea. I didn't think of that.
Yep. There's some foolishness up in those episodes.
You get to see me playing like a sort of off-brand Jedi who's like slowly like crumbling away under the weight of his like force powers.
Well, I remember you saying that's what you was going to do, an off-brand Jedi.
Yeah, man.
And then I hadn't thought any more of it. And then when you mentioned it again, I thought, oh yeah, I remember John saying about that now. I should check that out.
Okay, so you guys are in the garden amidst the cavorting marble statues. You stand next to this large fountain. You've not really looked in yet, but you can, like I say, you can just about make out this spheroid, this oval with a sort of pale white colour, albeit distorted by the thin layer of water that's over the top of it, since it is taking up most of the fountain. You had a plan to potentially try and burn the crystals. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah, so I'm going to pour in a bottle of brandy on top of what little water's left.
Okay.
And set it on fire.
Okay, so you're going to tip the brandy into the fountain, onto like what water is, and set fire. Is that what you're doing?
Yes, I have a torch, so I'll just from like 3 foot away.
Okay, make me a wisdom roll.
Is this a good idea?
I think it's way too late for that. 14.
Okay, so as you lean over and you sort of start like upending the brandy to pour it in, obviously you can like see the thing more now. And as you look down into it, at first it appears to be this smooth, pearlescent, pale ovoid. But as you look at it, you can't help your gaze is drawn towards it, and you start seeing these maddening, shifting, fractal patterns of light and shadow playing across the surface, and you feel your consciousness being drawn deeper and deeper into this thing. And at the last minute, with a Herculean effort of will, you literally like push yourself back and throw yourself on your back away from the fountain, the brandy falling to the floor.
Okay.
That happened last time. Now I remember it. I could have told you that if I wasn't distracted by the statues.
Yeah, these statues. You said the initial aging is quick. Does it carry on if they get older?
No, they appear to get to what you
Maturity.
consider to be like the prime of their life, so young adulthood, and then they appear to stop aging. And that's why there's just mo and mo statues, because as they're breeding, they're producing more, which are growing up rapidly, also breeding, producing more, rinse and repeat.
Okay, so what I'd like to try and do now is you see kind of here, somewhere between the fountain and the house,
Yep.
it's just to burn the crystals.
Okay, yep, you pick up the brandy, you're a bit shaky when you stand up, you pick up the brandy, you pour it on the orange crystals, you set fire to it, and as the fire catches, the crystals begin to darken at first, turning this deep umber colour before going the black of coal and charcoal. And as they turn black, the luster fades from the crystals and they start crumbling away into so much black sand.
Okay. And is it just local to where I've burnt it, or does the whole subset of it?
The fire doesn't seem to spread, it just crumbles away the bit that you've burnt.
Okay.
However, obviously you like sort of gingerly with your sword, like poke the pile of sand that it's turned into, and that seems to be entirely inert.
Okay. And now that there's no full line between the fountain and the house, is the crystals on the house starting to struggle, or are they still as orange and as...
They're still as fine as they were. So
Okay.
I've just sort of in red sketched over the bits that you've burnt.
Okay.
So the house has got to go.
Well, we can burn off the bits.
I mean, we could just set fire to the whole house.
Let's call that Plan B.
I'd have thought, Fry, you'd have been well up for that with a guy being a demonologist and all.
Yeah,
with
in fact,
his blasphemous rites and everything. And
Yeah, but
from where I'm standing, some of these statues are getting quite creative, and I think we should knock that on the head, perhaps, because that does not. I mean, that's not in the book, the good book, is it? Whatever he's doing.
No. Depends on which one is the good book.
It's,
But
it's just starting to get a little bit later in the day now. It's just starting to like fade to dusk. So obviously you guys have been searching and whatnot, which has taken a fair amount of time.
Yeah, I don't think we want to be here at night time somehow.
But we have to do something about the sphere in the fountain,
In the fountain.
and the laird has to pay a due for his sins. A donation, if you will. Which means we need to get into his master bedroom.
Well, yeah. Should we? What about if we burn up some of them crystals and get through that door and see what's in there? Would you want to do that?
I can also go take a look at the sailing crew
Oh yeah, them as well.
if there's something, because I didn't go too far in there because it seemed choppy waters.
So what I'd like to do first is, without looking into the fountain,
Okay.
is kind of throw 2 bottles of brandy in hard enough that they break.
Done.
That, and then from 3 feet away, I'd like to throw in a torch.
Okay, you throw in a torch. The slick of brandy that has risen on the water catches fire and it's flambeing away nicely.
Okay. Okay, but the sphere is not.
Obviously you're not looking at it, so you don't know what effect it's having on the sphere. And literally all you can see is like these flames sort of rising about. They are starting to die down a little bit now, as also the brandy's sort of like being burnt off.
Okay. Okay. Ooh, I have a mirror. Hang on.
Do these statues pay any attention to us, or are they just too busy?
No,
like-
they're too busy getting busy.
So what I'd like to do then is position myself with a mirror so that I can see the sphere through the mirror and see if it is taking any damage from the fire.
Okay, so you get out a mirror and you sort of angle it, and you can see this pearlescent sphere. Make me a wisdom roll.
Oh no, okay. 22.
Okay, you look at it, and for a few moments you can see that the sphere itself doesn't appear to be harmed. But as you stare at it again, you start seeing these maddening patterns that seem to be like drawing you into it. And the only thing that saves you is, as your hands start shaking, you're sort of almost being pulled towards the reflection. The mirror slips out of your hands, hits the floor, and shatters.
Okay. Okay. So then I think, Mick, you're right. We should check out the master bedroom, and see what else there is to see.
Okay, so where do you want to go?
Can we very quickly open this door here on the ground floor behind the pantry just to see what's there?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'll reveal that for you. Okay, yeah, so you head into the room that once had it's the hall that had the animated portraits in. You open the small door in the wall, and as you look in, you see what appears to be a small storeroom. It's a dusty chamber filled with brooms, brushes, mops, etc. There's a large clean red carpet on the floor. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Cool. So then I think we'll go upstairs with more brandy and a torch and try and burn this whole section here in this room with the...
So you want to burn this section here, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, no problems. So
actually, sorry, John, before we do that,
yep.
Can I burn this section here that's connecting the crystal to the bed first?
Okay, that's not a problem. So as you go in, you see, as I've described previously, this strange sort of ship scene with all these animated clothes acting out the part of sailors being whipped around as though there's a wind. As you start making your way into the room, Friar, these clothes suddenly turn round and rush towards you.
Okay.
Okay. So these clothes they've got no force behind them. They just sort of like flail uselessly at you. However, as they're doing so, they back away, and suddenly all of your clothes literally just fall off you. Like your armor, your normal clothing, everything just like falls off you as though it had been unbuckled. And as your clothes fall to the floor, they immediately leap up into the representation of like a human and leap up on the ship and start sort of like waving around as though they've become part of this play. And the rest of you are stood there sort of staring at poor Friar Dunstan, who stood there stark as his clothes have sort of become a sailor on this ship.
No one wants to see that.
That's not what they meant when they said get the sword of Gale out.
Okay. So, assuming I still have my brandy and my torch, I think I'll...
Your Hamlet cigar.
Now to kill the disconnect between the crystal and the ship.
Okay, no problems. Now you sort of know what you're doing. It doesn't take you long to burn the strut that is linked to the ship, and as it burns away, becoming so much blackened sand, the animating force is leached out of this bed, ship, and all the clothing, and they all just flutter to the floor. And you're able to regather your own clothes and re-robe.
Okay, so I'll just get my clothes and then I will try to burn away this part down here near the door.
Okay, no problems. You burn that away. That's not difficult. Now you know what you're doing. So as you burn it away from the door, you can see into a chamber beyond.
Okay.
What you're looking into appears to be some sort of private library. It appears to have like a collection of books in here on various esoteric matters. The shelves, desks and bureaus also house a menagerie of taxidermically preserved animals and birds. You can see that all of these taxidermied animals appear to be animated. They're chasing each other around the room. But however, as they're... At first you're like, oh, animals animated running around the room. However, as you sort of continue to watch and listen, you note that they don't actually appear to be, although they are chasing each other, they appear to be having like an animated discussion in sort of creaking voices as they're sort of moving around. And they appear to be discussing various academic matters, weather patterns, crop rotation, various different sort of mundane subjects. However, as you listen to them, they appear to be, these animated animals appear to be extremely knowledgeable.
Okay. So are all the books in the room animated?
The books aren't animated, it's the taxidermied animals that are animated.
Oh, sorry. Okay. That's just a bit weird. Okay. Can I examine the books and see if there's any book of magical or demonology or that sort of trend?
As you move over towards the bookcases, a stuffed owl that appears to be wearing a small pair of spectacles flies down and perches on the bookshelf just above where you're about to start looking at. And in a creaking, rather presumptuous voice says, Now, Friar Dunstan, we don't have any time for this, so go on, be off with you. Don't be disturbing our discussions, unless you're planning to contribute something to the forum, obviously.
Master Owl, what can you tell me about the creature Wormit?
It pushes its glasses up with a wingtip and says, "Oh, the fallen star, you mean? Yes,
Indeed.
well, of course, I do happen to be very knowledgeable on a great deal of things, of course. Wise is the nature of my being. What is it you want to know, Friar Dunstan?"
Well, many things. So the core of this fallen star.
Oh, yes, yes.
What size would you expect it to be?
Oh, very large, very large.
Like 10 foot in diameter?
Oh, bigger.
Ah,
Think bigger, man. Think bigger.
okay. And
You know, I must say, I'm surprised they let you out of the monastery thinking small like that.
indeed, not quite as smart as your good self.
Well, few are, sir, few are.
Indeed, very few. So tell me,
Before I do, tell me, how's your friend the lieutenant doing with his good lady? Has he managed to prize her out yet, or is she still languishing in the sewers below Great London?
you are very well informed. And as it stands, she continues to languish. But
Well, I can't say I'm surprised. He gestures with a wing. Here you all are gallivanting around this forest. No doubt your homeland's going to rack and ruin while you're away. But, oh no, here you are bothering poor academics like myself when you should have other business to take care of.
Indeed. So this Wormit creature that the laird has tried to summon.
Yes.
When did he try and summon it? Do you know?
Oh, it would have been probably about a week before you arrived on these shores.
Okay.
Maybe less.
Okay. And tell me the organs of a star.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell me how many there are and what they look like? And
Well, I can't really tell you what they look like, I'm afraid. I don't think you're really equipped to understand the answer I'd give. But I don't know about this exact one, but I would say probably about 3. Yes, there'd be the core. There'd be some sort of organ for communication. There would be some organ housing the intelligence, and then when they're brought together, that would be the creature. It's obvious. I'm surprised you haven't worked it out yourself, to be honest.
indeed, yes, I'm just not quite as smart as you, I'm afraid.
Few are.
So, and then what can you tell me about these crystals? Are they related to Wormit?
Oh yes. You see, the organs, when they're separated, they it's obvious they instinctively want to be brought back together, but lacking any motivating intelligence to govern their actions, I suppose you could say they lash out sporadically, causing all manner of strange effects. Obvious, really.
Okay. And which organ?
As you're saying that, a stuffed fox wearing like a little waistcoat comes walking past, and he sort of, I presume you guys are all there.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of sidles up a bit. He's got like a flat cap on and like a little like waistcoat, walking on his hind legs. Sort of sidles up, and he's like, "What?" So little fox looks up at you and he's like, "What?"
I'll give the fox a nod. Care for a brandy, Mr. Fox there?
He's like, "Oh, I think I'm well preserved enough already, if you get me." He's like, "Go on it." He's like, "Go on then, Mickey
You
boy."
never had too much.
He's like, "Listen here, Mickey boy." He's like, "Go on. We're both lads. Why are you level with me? Go on. How much have you pocketed? Go on. How much?
Well, I mean,
Go on."
a couple of these books that was
Oh,
knocking about.
just a couple of books. What about the silverware and stuff like that?
Where's the silverware?
He's like, "What?"
Where's the
Oh, I
silverware?
thought you were supposed to be a bit wee, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm on my best behaviour with the friar here and the lieutenant. You know what I'm saying?
He's like, "Nah." He's like,
Can't go
if-
pinching.
He's like, if you're gonna like settle down with that fine young lady you've got back in a
Some would say a
Fucking-
fox.
oh, see what you did there? So if you're gonna settle down with that fine young lady in Prigwort and be like a milk baron, you want to get yourself a bit of a nest egg, mate. You can't be bothering about the lad. I mean, he's shot ears. I mean, you've chopped his arm off.
It's harmless.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, see what you did there? So, but how long do you think he's going to last if everyone like finds out what he's been up to here? You got to look after your... And he sort of like, just like gently like pokes you in like your thigh because he's not high enough to like reach your shoulder. He's like, you got to look after yourself, Mickey boy.
Yeah.
He's like, what would your old man back in London say?
Oh, nice. I know. You're right. I know.
And then he puts on like a really bad impression of your dad. And he's like, I know what he'd say. He'd be like, you got to look after yourself, Mickey boy. And he goes like that with his hands while he's doing it.
Like, adjust his...
Yeah,
The gold chain.
Gives his flat cap a tug.
And I'll produce a couple of, like, brandy glasses that I swiped out of the kitchen. I'll pour him one out. Offer it over to him. Yeah. I might have to have a reconsider my position.
He takes it and he's like, cheers, geezer. Here's mud in your eye.
Good elf.
And he like knocks it back.
And I'll just dash him another one quick. We'll have another quick one.
No problem. So whilst the friar's talking to an owl and Big Mick's getting quite cosy with a fox.
Nothing unusual there, of course.
No, par for the course. What are the lieutenant and Jackdaw up to while this bizarre sort of wind in the willows from hell scene's playing out?
I'll be outside. I shall go outside. This is too much for the lieutenant.
Yeah, you're just like, forget this. And just go stand outside.
So we had in this particular room we had bookcases, I believe. Anything else of like furniture?
Indeed,
That isn't crystal.
It's mainly just bookcases. There's like a little table, like a little reading chair, etc. All the stuff you expect to find in like a small, like private library. Apart from that, though, there's like a nice rug on the floor, a cabinet, a couple of chests. You have a quick look. There's nothing particularly of interest in them. And apart from that, it just looks like one. You can see there's like a number of like empty like hooks on the wall that you think must have held this like bewildering array of animals. But now, obviously, they've all been animated by presumably the crystals that are encrusting the western wall. And as you sort of watch them, it's weird. It's almost like their personalities seem to have been shaped by the books, because these are books of lore about various mundane topics. And all of these, like, well, certainly you listen to the fox talking to like Mick, and it seems to like know all about him. It's calling him Mickey Boy, and it's talking about his dad. The owl seems to know all about Fry Dunstan. He called him Fry Dunstan as soon as he walked in, was like sassing him about coming from the monastery, and he seems to know like what's in the books.
What other animals are there? We have the fox, we have the owl.
There's pretty much almost any animal you can think of within reason. Is there any you're looking for in particular?
I guess no, if there's like just a whole wide selection. I would go in the room, take a look at the books, if there's anything of particular interest in the bookshelves.
Okay, so you look on the books on the shelves on the eastern wall. They're pretty much untouched by the crystals. They're inanimate. You quickly just like scan over the spines of the books. They're weighty academic tomes. Like, I mean, these aren't books you're just going to tuck in your pocket. They're like serious, like chunky books.
Yeah, manuscripts.
Yeah, pretty much. They seem to cover topics like astronomy, astrology, astrobiology, the study of heavenly life forms, theology, focused on hierarchies of angels and heavenly spheres, stuff like that, planar geometry, invocation, and stellar divination. I mean, the books in here, I mean, they don't seem to be magical from what you can tell, but the books in here, even just for the size of them and the vast array of academic treatises, they must be worth an absolute fortune.
Yeah, and like really obscure as well.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take the I think I'll take the astronomy, like one of, well, I presume there's multiple, but I'll take the biggest celestial lore astronomy book, the manuscript, like take it off the shelf and just carry it out of the room.
You pick up this astronomy tome, and as you're carrying out the door, you hear this. And as you look up, you can see there's a stuffed raven perched on the open door.
Of course there is. Of course there is.
And it appears to be watching you with these like glass black eyes.
There's no way you was getting out of there without that happening.
Yeah, never more. I'll get out a bit of a ration. I'll offer it to the bird.
You hold it up, it yoinks the ration and eats it, and as it does so in a croaking voice that I won't do, otherwise I'll wreck my throat, it calls loud enough for everyone into the room to hear, and indeed for the lieutenant stood out in the corridor to hear. It says, "All hail Reynold Oculon, heir to the throne of London."
Well, fuck me, the bird knows it as well. It must be true. Well, no bowing, no scraping. I look around.
If I bow too much, Jackdaw, I'll spill my brandy.
The little fox goes, "And we can't be having that way."
Cheers to that.
Chinks it together with like a big nick, and he's like,
Hey!
the
Down the hatch. A top up there, Foxy.
"Oh, don't mind if I do, Mickey boy."
You're getting the fox all souped up.
We're having a whale of a time over here in the corner. We're busting out the cigars.
Yeah, as you look around, it's an odd scene. Well, you'd expect it to be odd, obviously, given what's going on. But you've got the friar engaged in seemingly like trying to interrogate this owl about this star creature, and then there's just like Mick and this like fox wearing like a little tweed jacket and a flat cap, like smoking cigars and getting like soused up on brandy in the corner, and like nudging each other in the ribs and being like, "Don't mind if I do, Mickey boy."
So I'll take my eyes away from this scene and look back at the raven, and
it goes.
I'll whisper to it, "I won't tell if you won't," and then I won't. I will go to leave the room with the book.
Okay, as you're literally stepping out of the door, it caws loudly once more, and then it says, Only when the two halves of the whole are united will you claim your destiny.
I will. Jackdaw goes very well. It's not that he's very emotive to begin with, but he goes pretty. He sort of like shuts down a bit, and there's no hint of any kind of emotion on his face as he does the mechanical repetition of what he just did. So he's gonna come back in, take one of the big, like in his very limited estimation of like what's expensive. So I'll take the big sort of heaven lore books, and I will stack a bunch of them outside. So
As you go in to like grab another book, you have to dodge around what appears to be like this almost like giant scarab beetle that's on its hind sort of pair of legs, and it appears to be like marching towards the door, sort of in a very like militaristic fashion, and it sort of steps to one side and it's like, and it lets you into the room.
Just shake my head.
Okay, so you go in to get your book. That's absolutely fine.
Yep.
The beetle continues past you. It stops where, sort of like next to where the lieutenants stood out in the corridor, and you suddenly hear this voice go, "Stand straight, soldier! Look alive!"
I think I'm ready to go home now, I'll say. I'll leave the house.
It's like, it sort of carries on like marching after you, and it's like, "You should be ready for the fight, soldiers! Straighten that helmet up! Get that weapon up! Call out a march! 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2!" And it carries on like marching after you, sort of like shouting in like this almost like parade ground fashion that you'd be sort of quite familiar with having been a soldier. And you head outside with this like beetle following after you, going, "Go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right." And the rest of you can hear this like beetle's voice getting fainter and fainter as it's following the lieutenant. Okay, so we're going to jump back to the friar in the discussion with the owl.
So sorry, the organ in the fountain. What can you tell me about? Which organ is it?
Yes.
It's not the core.
He says, "Well, no, it's not the core. That would be at the main site of the impact, of course, you see. But this is simply one of the organs that broke off on entry into our sphere, as you might put it. I believe the main crater's up on Bolton Moor, if my calculations are correct."
Yes, indeed, that would be correct.
Well, yes, of course it is. My calculations are always correct. He says, "Now, the organ in the founding, I would call it a concrescence. Yes, that seems an adequate term for it. Yes."
And do you know where the third organ landed? Where did your calculations tell you the third one landed?
He says, "Well, if my calculations are correct, and they always are, then I would say it had landed some distance to the north of Drigbolton. Somewhere in the small huts and whatnot up there."
Okay. And tell me, what happens if the three parts are reunited?
"Oh, well, then the entity, such as it is, will be whole, and it will be free to communicate, to move, to do whatever such entities do, you know." And it pushes its glasses up with its wing again.
And based on what you know of this entity, what do you believe that it would do if it was reunited?
Well, given that it was summoned here by the laird, although I don't think we can blame the laird too much. He was somewhat compelled by the ritual itself to perform it. You know, such things have a power even before they're done. I'm sure if you'd finished your studies at the monastery, you'd know that. So I believe that this creature, this werewolf, for some reason wanted to be in this sphere, and such entities existing outside of what you perceive as time and space, it probably arranged for itself to be summoned. That seems the most likely and only logical conclusion.
So that would be an indication that it would be not good for the Dolmen Wood for such all three parts to be reunited.
Well, I can't say. That would depend on the creature's motivations, and since I don't know those, I can't possibly comment. What sort of, and it sort of stretches its wings behind its head, what sort of academic would I be if I was to make unfounded a thesis like that without any supporting evidence?
And tell me, how can the organs be damaged?
Well, each organ is different. Now, the one in the fountain out there, obviously you've seen the effect it gestures itself with when you've seen the effect it has on inanimate objects and sentient creatures when they look at it, because their simple minds can't grasp the nature of it. It draws their consciousness in and paralyzes them to a certain extent. What you need to do is you need to find something that will, I suspect, trying to puncture it with brute force would be quite dangerous. I would suggest something to dissolve or abrade the spheroid gradually, to reduce it in size until it wears away effectively, like you might do with a pearl.
And like an acid of some kind?
Yeah, something like that. Yes, obviously, as you found out earlier, fire itself is not affected against it. Although I'm not sure if I'm sure you've probably not worked out the reason, but simple creature that you are. But obviously, you've seen the effect they have on animate and inanimate objects. Fire being both and neither, you've seen that it can burn away the crystalline extrusions of the star organ. However, as you've found out, the organ itself does not share that particular weight. But yes, some sort of strong acid or something along those lines would probably do the job.
Do you know where we might find something like that? Some lime?
I'm afraid I don't think the lad has any in his. But there might be something down in the cellars if you have a poke around a bit.
You got plenty of vinegar down there in the basement with that sauerkraut and whatnot there.
And what do you mean by interrupting me mid-flow?
I was just
young Michael, you miscreant, says the owl.
Sorry, oh great wise one, forgive my interjection. I believe that's the correct word.
Oh, well, I suppose we can overlook it given your low breeding.
Yeah, well, you know.
At which point the fox flicks the cigar he's been smoking at the owl, and he's like, "Whoa, you want to start something?"
No, let's keep it civil.
He's like, "Don't make me take my jacket off."
Yeah, don't make him take his jacket.
He's like, "I come over there, slap you with my cap."
Have another brandy there, Mr. Fox.
He's like, "Well, maybe just the one."
There's not enough hours in the day for that.
And the other organs then, how can they be damaged, do you know?
Well, I'm afraid you've stumped me a little bit there. I'm afraid I'm not entirely sure. I'm sorry to admit it, but even my great knowledge has its limits.
Ah, indeed.
Friar. Does he know anything about that jelly? Does he not ask him about the jelly?
Do you know anything about the jelly that the core radiates?
Oh yes, the pink jelly that's in the crater. Yes, of course.
What can you tell me about it?
He says, well, it's effectively and this is in layman's terms, it's effectively the will of the entity made manifest. So I would suspect that if anyone's come into contact with it, after prolonged contact, they will start feeling the urges of the creature, its longing to be whole, and they will be moved to act upon such urges as though they were their own.
Uh-huh. Is that why the creatures are returning the parts of the core into the crater? perhaps.
I knew you weren't as foolish as you looked, my friend.
Okay. And do you think that anybody would be immune to that?
I shouldn't think so. Obviously, anyone who's not been exposed to the excretions of the star would, of course, be unaffected. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're foolish enough to find an unknown substance and start shoveling it to damn you, well, that's your own tough luck.
Indeed, but there are some in the village who are not tainted.
In which case, I would surmise, and this is only a theory, I would surmise that they have either eaten less of the excretions, or they have not yet come into contact with it.
Okay. That is interesting. Okay. So we have the location of all 3 organs, and we know how to destroy this one organ. And can you tell me when did the compulsion come on the laird for the summoning of this creature?
Let's see. It would be about 3 months before you arrived on the shores of this green and pleasant land. But obviously, such things take research, gathering ingredients, a great deal of time. But yes, his first being drawn towards it would have been about 3 months ago. 3 months before you arrived.
Aye. And tell me then the book that he used to summon the. Do you know where he came by it?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay.
At this point, we're going to cut away to the lieutenant. So you were leading the building, Lieutenant, with this beetle marching after you, shouting at you. Where were you planning on heading once you left the building?
As far as the laird and his manservant, just check on them.
Okay, you head round to the front of the building where you left them. They are no longer there.
The cause of this has fled. I'll turn around and look at this beetle then.
You two turn around towards it and it's like, stand up straight. That's right.
I'm retired.
Once you're in the army, you never retire. In it for life, sir. In it for life.
I'm death, apparently. Well, I shall just sit down and wait for the others to come out.
Okay, you wait for the others. Okay, the rest of you guys, what are you doing? Sorry, I was going to say, Jackdaw, you've sort of left the room with your books. What are you up to?
Yeah, so given that they were quite big, it probably takes me a bit to move them around. So I would have, if nothing stops me, I will take, let's say, like 5, 6 of the, in my estimation, the biggest and most impressive manuscripts, and I will try and ferry them downstairs where we can leave with them.
Absolutely fine. Yeah, no problem at all.
And I'll rig, because I have 50 foot of rope, I'll rig like a carrying thing for those so that it's like a big backpack.
Yeah, not a problem. Okay, so Friar Dunstan.
So I'll. One final question for the owl then will be: do you know if the laird has any more books on this occult nature, or where he might keep his most prized possessions, so I can make sure that there are no more?
Well, you've already found his secret laboratory next to the cellar, so I don't believe there's any more than that.
Okay.
He kept all his most contentious tomes down there.
Ah, indeed. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. I'll be back in touch with you.
Absolutely fine. Yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
and I'll bid you a good day.
Yeah, it's on to you.
So then I'd like to open this door into what I guess is like the last room.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, so you open the door of that room and you look into what appears to be the oratory that was spoken about earlier. It has stone walls, and ceiling of this tower room are plastered with maps and charts of the cosmos. There's an elaborate brass star viewing apparatus dominating the centre of the room, facing a window. 2 wooden stools, a plush frayed armchair and a small ladder stand to one side.
Okay, does the ladder go up, or is it just like a ladder for standing on?
It's just propped to one side, it doesn't seem to go anywhere.
Okay. Okay, so I think then I'm done, and I'll come back to Mick and Jackdaw and say I'm going to go talk to the laird and find out what's going on, and then I'll leave them to it.
Should I come along and prepare a final rest for the laird, given all the givens?
I don't think that'll be necessary. It feels like he was compelled, and the loss of his arm will be his penance. But should I require your services, I will call up.
I will nod, and I'll keep an eye on, if I can, from a distance of like how that meeting is gonna go.
Okay, not a problem.
Sorry, John. In the meantime, whilst it's quiet, I'm just going to see if there's any sort of nice-looking star charts in that room that I might swipe.
Yeah, the walls are pretty much lined with star charts, as I said, showing the motion and movement of celestial bodies, the precession of the zodiac, constellations, etc., the movement of planets, comets, asteroids, etc. As you're sort of looking through them, going, oh, which one of these should I have? You eventually come across sort of one that appears to show a star, and it's got Wormouth written underneath it, and it's been circled in red. And as you move around, you see actually it's on several of these star charts, and it's circled in red on each of them.
Oh, right. I think I'll grab those ones.
Okay.
And fire them under my coat, and just with star charts in coat, just give old Mr. Fox the nod and say, yeah, Mr. Fox, you fancy showing us whereabouts this that there silver is?
He's like, oh, now you're talking, Mickey boy.
I ain't silly.
Okay, this small fox leads you through the building, back through various rooms, and every time you go into a room, he's like, oh, have a look in that drawer there, Mick. He's like, oh, some spoons in there. Like, right nice pieces they are.
Yeah. And I'll just follow his directions.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is roll me a D100. Colin?
Okay. Oh, what's that doing? Oh, that's you.
Okay, so after thoroughly ransacking this house with this fox, like gleefully pointing out all the stuff that's worth nicking, you have the equivalent of 510 silver pieces worth of cutlery and assorted silver black plates and stuff like that. Obviously, it's quite bulky and difficult to carry, but you can just like mark down on your sheet you've got like 510 silver pieces.
Yeah, stash them in a sack or something and set them nearby. I'll casually sort of like put them where I see where Jackdaw's loading out books and whatnot. I'll sort of like casually just drop a sack in there ready to load out something. I'll take Mr. Fox I'll take him to the kitchen to show him all that juicy meat as a bit of a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of thing.
He's like, oh, nice one, Mick. And he drops down onto all floors and he starts like scoffing up this meat that's lying around.
Get some of that black pudding down you.
He's like, oh, it's all right.
And I'll just give him a pat on the back. Anyway, nice meeting you, you know. Fill your boots.
He's like, stay lucky.
And I'll head out.
Okay. Now we're going to cut to Lieutenant Uffington outside. You've been stood there for some time, and over the course of several minutes, now it's removed from the crystalline growths. The beetle gradually stops moving and talking and just sort of falls forward. Once again, a taxidermied animal. And you're just sort of breathing a sigh of relief, Lieutenant, when you hear a clanking noise and you see a bewildered looking old man wearing tattered plate armour coming staggering around the corner of the house. He's like, his eyes are rolling around in his head. He looks entirely bewildered.
Can I help you?
He runs towards you and sort of like puts his hand out to sort of steady himself on you. And as he does so, he opens his mouth and just this burbling nonsense of sounds tumbles out of his mouth, not even vaguely resembling speech. He looks quite panicked and he like tries to repeat himself, sort of shaking his shoulder. But again, just a burbling nonsense of random sounds emanates from his mouth.
Take a seat, have a drink. I have some water here.
He takes some of the drink and again he tries to speak, but again just absolute nonsense pours forth from him.
Can you write?
He shrugs, but he like holds his hand out.
Well, I don't think I have any writing paraphernalia in mind. That perhaps there's some in the house. Oh, come with me. We'll go into the lathe study.
He nods and follows you. As you're about to head inside, you meet the others sort of coming the other way. So all of you guys, you can see what looks to be like an old, sort of worn down, perhaps retired, like soldier or knight, following after the lieutenant. He looks slightly bewildered.
What's going on, Lieutenant?
That's a very good question. But this gentleman here has just appeared around the corner. When he tries to speak, his voice, his words are a jumble of nonsense.
Okay.
So we're going to see if he can write.
Well, I have a quill and paper, so you can borrow them and see what he can write. Where's the laird?
Oh, I think he's run away, but we'll catch him.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, while you're working with this knight, I am going to see if I can find any of the laird's acid and see if we can deal with this organ in the fountain. And I'll hand over a quill and some parchment and some ink.
Okay, so the old knight sort of puts it down on a nearby bit of furniture, holds a quill, and you see like his brow furrows in concentration, and very slowly he starts to write. But as he's writing, it's just like random shapes and squiggles and absolute rubbish. Although he looks like he's really concentrating in trying to write, but it's just absolute rubbish and nonsense that he's writing down on the page.
Has he got any insignia on any of his clothing there, John, like a crest or anything?
He doesn't appear to have, but his armour, although it's obviously like in reasonably good nick, it looks like it's quite old, and you can see he's got like a bit of a sort of greying beard. He's certainly older than the lieutenant. He's like sort of advanced age. He looks a bit sort of shaky, but
He hasn't got an air of the jackdaw about him like he was maybe done a spell being dead.
No, he just looks like he's quite old and a little bit frail.
Yeah, so on his way, but not as of
Yeah,
yet.
you expect sort of like looking at him. He's obviously not like a knight or a soldier anymore. Since like,
No,
if the
right.
lieutenant's retired, this guy definitely has. But you can't really tell much more about him other than he's old. He's wearing some old armor, and he doesn't appear to be able to like, communicate in any meaningful fashion.
So
And
he's
and
like a
seems to be getting,
medieval. He's like a medieval concierge.
yeah, and he seems to be getting more and more frustrated like, every time he tries to write or speak, and all that comes out is like nonsense.
Huh. I wonder how we can sort that out.
Well, handing him back. Please calm yourself out. Stop trying.
He sort of almost like throws the quill down on the parchment in frustration. He's like,
Perhaps you could take us back to where you were previously.
he nods. He's like, and he gives you like a thumbs up. Obviously, he's realised there's no point in him speaking now, so he doesn't even try and speak.
Yeah, Lieutenant, I wonder if we had the letters, written out, whether he could just point at the letters. If he's not got control of the pen, perhaps if we could, because if he can come and go and he's got control of his movement, perhaps he could, like maybe spell out his name or something like that.
Would you like to try that, sir?
I mean, you'd have to write them down. I'm none too good with the.
He gives you a nod.
Okay. So write out the letters of the alphabet. Lay them out on the table.
That's some fancy handwriting you got there, Lieutenant. I bet your mum's proud of that.
Okay,
Yes,
so
she was.
you write all the letters out on a piece of paper, show it to him, at which point he's like, and like shrugs and he's like,
Okay. That's not going to work either.
Perhaps he's foreign. Perhaps he's from perhaps he's foreign.
as you say that, he turns around looking quite annoyed and he shouts something at you, but again it just comes out as this burbling tumble of nonsense syllables.
I don't think he's a foreigner.
Do you think he's talking like back to front or something? Does it? Would we recognise what back to front speaking sounds like?
You could possibly make a bit of a guess, but it just sounds like when he's trying to talk like random syllables. So he's speaking English, but it's just like random words and syllables coming out rather than any meaningful sentence.
Right, gotcha. Right. So it's sort of recognisable, but just
Yeah. So like when you were like, oh, maybe he's foreign, he might have turned around and he'd be like, hat rack, rat catcher.
yeah. Huh. Maybe you was right, Lieutenant. Perhaps we should see where he sprung from.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry for leading you around. So we'll go out and see what the friar's up to, and perhaps we'll investigate further.
So whilst you've been doing that, Friar, you've been down to the cellar and you've managed to find a metal container which appears to contain a caustic acid, probably used for like cleaning the stonework and such like, getting moss and liching off and stuff like that.
Okay. Was there any of the other materials or files down there look interesting, or is it just kind of generic stuff?
It's like generic stuff.
Okay, cool. So I'll just take the caustic acid.
Yep.
I'll come back up. Sorry, there was a silver spoon on the table as well. Did I take that already?
Yeah, that's fine. You could have taken that.
So I'll take that too.
That was that was next to the book that had all the immaculate pictures of butterflies in it.
Yeah, which was bizarre. Not as bizarre as everything else, but it was bizarre. So then I'll take the caustic acid.
Okay.
Go round to the fountain.
Yep.
And pour it in on top of with my eyes closed. Pour it in on top of the organ.
Okay, not a problem. So, with your eyes closed tightly to try and preserve you from the effects of looking upon the spiral star concrescence, you pour the acid in. After a while, you're rewarded with a hissing, popping sound, and a sort of acrid smell drifts up to your nostrils.
Okay. At which point I will try and look in and see what it looks like.
Okay, so how long are you waiting before you look in?
I'd like it to be like hissing for like 10 minutes before I chanced it.
Okay, no problem. So you wait for 10 minutes, and after a while the hissing slowly dies down. And as you look into the fountain, you see that instead of this maddening spheroid shape, there's just like a pale white melted sludge in the bottom of the fountain.
Okay. Cool. Score 1 for the good guys.
Yeah. Well done.
Or else we've turned into random murderers. One or the other. Okay, so once that's done,
And
do we
indeed,
get a...
as you finish doing that, you've just sort of like, oh yeah, it's gone, it's all sludge. When from behind you, like a...
I guess I'll turn around and see what that sound might be.
And as you turn around, you see that all of the orange crystals that are across the house have slowly, almost like a plant deprived of water, has started to wilt, blacken, and they begin to dissolve into this dark coloured sand, which begins to slowly fall to the ground and disperse on the wind.
And the statues, are they the same?
As you watch, you see the statues appear to be like slowing in their movement, and they slowly start toppling over, now once more mere marble, as the animating force has been deprived from them, and they start just like falling to the ground in the last positions they were in, once more marble statues. And you look across this field of people, the life removed from them, some of them still at mid-copulation, others just sort of in various poses and falling to the ground. A sea of pale pink marble.
Like something you'd find in Lamentations of the Flame Princess sort of thing.
So, copulations of the Stone Princess.
Okay.
Garden of Earthly Delights, is it? Very earthly.
Yeah, so just to bring you up to speed, Mick, the friar has used the acid to melt away the organ in the fountain to sludge, and all of the crystals have started turning into this black sand. The statues are all collapsing because they're no longer animated, and you would assume that a similar effect is taking place throughout the rest of the Oast house.
And when I get back to the front of the house, is the knight still there?
Yeah, he's still stood there with the lieutenant.
Okay. And is there any sign of where the laird and his manservant might have gone?
You can make me a wisdom roll. Don't forget, you all have your one use of the D30, as per the house rule.
Indeed. Actually, would our ranger be able to do something with that?
Okay, so you turn round to Nawala, your ranger, who's basically been like following you guys around, like, the fuck is this? Like, looking like both unimpressed and bewildered in equal measure. In fact, when the lieutenant left the building, she followed him out because she was like, yeah, I am also done with this. And she's been like stood outside just like restringing a bow and like checking her equipment. She's like, she looks around and she says, it's difficult to follow the tracks in the dark, but and she's like looking at the ground and like looking at broken branches and like leaves, and she says, I think they went north towards the moors, but it's boggy and treacherous up there.
Okay.
Bolton Bog, they call it.
Okay.
It can be dangerous. The paths are difficult to find. It's very easy to step off the paths and find yourself sinking in the mud of the bog. Few people have lost their lives up there.
Yeah, we better take a barrel of brandy or something for that journey, just in case.
And do you know the way, Nuala?
Says, I know some of the ways. I don't know anyone alive who knows all of them, but I can get us there, and as long as you follow my directions, I can probably make sure none of you get sucked down into the bog.
Okay.
What about this old knight? He seems a bit distressed.
Let's see where the knight needs to go. Actually, first of all, can I I'll go over to the knight and I'll put my hand on his forehead and I'll say a few words in Latin and cast the remove curse spell and see if that has any, if that helps him in any way speak his.
Okay, so you cast your remove curse spell on him. He's like, looks a little bit bewildered as you're like chanting in Latin and like putting your hand on his forehead. And then he's like, what the devil are you doing? Hold on a second. I can talk.
You can.
Thank
I have
God.
Cured you.
Oh,
thank Gale.
Bless you, sir. Bless you.
Gale.
Bless you, sir. And he says, well, if there's anything I can ever do for you, sir, you have simply to ask. He says, I may be an old retired knight, but never let it be said that I don't pay my debts. And he sticks out a hand towards you and he says, Sir Thomas, at your service, sir.
Friar Dunstan, at yours and your family's. And tell me, Sir Thomas, you seem like you were in a bit of a rush when you met the lieutenant. Is there a problem?
He says, well, yes, I should say there's a problem. So this, I live to the north of the village. I can't be doing all this tomfoolery in the village. People pestering me all the time, asking me to tell them stories about my time in the wars and all. So I've got a little cabin up there, just on the borders of the bog. No one really bothers me much. But I go out. I forage for mushrooms and the local plants and whatever, just enough to get me by. And I saw the most extraordinary thing out there, and I thought I've got to tell someone about it. But then this strange dizzy spell overcame me, and I must have passed out or something. When I woke up, I ran to the laird's house. Obviously, he's the authority in this area, and I found your man here, and he gestures at the lieutenant. And I tried to explain what was going on, but although I was talking perfectly normally, he didn't seem to understand me.
Indeed.
And then you put a piece of paper out in front of me with some squiggles on it, and
yes, it seems you were cursed, and you were unable to communicate.
Devil, you say?
Indeed, we have just destroyed a devilish artifact that landed in the laird's fountain.
Oh, good show, sir. Good show.
And we believe that a third one has landed north of the village, and it's quite possible that that is what you have seen and what has cursed you.
The thing I saw was horrible. Tell me, Friar, have you ever seen a young child, one that's very recently been born, like as in literally just been born? Well, it was like someone had taken 3 such babes and joined them together somehow. Quite the most terrible thing I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot in my time, let me tell you, Friar.
I don't doubt it, Sir Thomas. Well, the laird and his manservant have gone north, and we are going north after them, and also to find this organ, this star organ, as it is called. Would you like to accompany us? Do you know the way through the bogs, perchance?
He says, no, I live on the outskirts. I don't go in too far into the bogs. Terribly treacherous, especially at my age. I appreciate the offer, Friar, and all that you've done for me. I'd rather get and warn the rest of the village, though. If what happened to me could happen to them, I think the people need to know. And look, since the lad doesn't seem to be here, I suppose I'm going to have to be the one to do it.
Yes. Well, I think the people...
And I was thinking, would we not need some precautions if we're going to head up that way, Friar, because we could end up, like the old boy here with this curse and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know what precautions you can take against a star that's going to curse you with the inability to speak or communicate?
Well, the precaution I was considering was maybe not to go anywhere near it.
Always an option. But since we've come all this way and we have destroyed a third of it, it seems like a moral obligation to go and destroy the rest.
Well, that would be on brand for us, I guess. Unfortunately.
Well, given that we now know how to do this,
It's not like you two want to destroy something, Jackdaw. I mean, you know, I thought you might have been looking for a peaceable solution.
it just goes right over his head.
Oh, what's peaceful, huh?
Oh, well.
Confused.
At which point, Noala, the ranger that you've hired, says, well, as I've said, obviously we're at the Oast house, which is some distance to the north of the town. The bog is between the town and the Oast house, but to the east. But I know the way.
Well, let us go then, while our courage lasts.
Okay, absolutely fine. So
Okay.
I'll move you onto the other map.
We're going to stash the loot somewhere for our return for picking up on the way back. Like the books and the silver and all that. We're going to...
We can ask. I have a cart and a pony, so we can ask Sir Thomas to bring it to the village for us.
He says, well, yeah, yes, of course. Anything I can do to help.
Not being funny, Friar, but is that wise? You know what these knights are like.
Aye, but it's just a few bags of equipment. Sir Thomas will leave it for us at the inn, and we'll pick it up when we get there.
As long as you don't go poking about.
Yeah, he won't.
Okay, well, if you think so. You're a better judge of character than me.
Indeed.
Okay, so as I say, it's night time. You all leave the Oast house.
Should we rest here before we go and go in the day? Nuala, what do you think? Is it better to travel by day?
She says, yes, most definitely. The ways are even more treacherous when your vision is impaired.
And
My vision's very impaired currently.
Brandy will do that to you. And Godfrey, with his sore leg or injured leg, he wouldn't have been able to travel far, right, John? We don't think that? Or we do think that?
He wouldn't have been moving quickly, no.
Okay.
He wouldn't have got too far.
Okay. So then I think we could have a high level of confidence that we would catch them tomorrow if we stayed the night here. So let us rest up and heal ourselves, and then let us start again in the morning.
Okay, so you rest for the evening, obviously, or knock off a provision.
Oh, no. I'll be getting some of them fine sausages, John.
Yeah, that's fine. If you want to eat the tainted meats of the Oast
Well,
house.
I was going to say, I don't know about that, but I'll raid the kitchen. We'll raid the larder and all that.
That's fine. If you raid in the larder, you can find enough provisions for
some more of that sauerkraut. And...
Oh, yeah, there's that plenty. Okay, so you all heal 1 hit point overnight.
Is there enough food there that we could take it as additional provisions for the road?
Yeah, roll me a d6. Okay, you have 5 additional days worth of provisions that you scrat up out of the Oast house.
Okay.
So you wake up next morning, Noala's up fairly early, sort of checking all her gear and her equipment, etc. She looks at you all as you're all getting up and she's like, right, are we ready to go?
We are. Fine lady. Lead us away.
Okay, so you start travelling to the southeast.
Can't fault her keenness.
It's about a mile and a half away. You start travelling to the southeast, and after about half a mile, the ground starts becoming increasingly boggy, wet, and damp. As you move, your feet make a sound as you walk through the muddy ground. Stagnant pools, tangled reed beds, small rivers, and sodden pathways appear to dominate this tract of land. You can see the crumbled remains of old farmers' cottages and walls, all slowly being reclaimed by this bog and sucked down beneath the sodden dirt. As you continue to move, following Noala, who appears to lead you through ground that looks no different to any of the other ground hereby, but she keeps telling you to follow her footsteps. She says it's deceptive. You step off I only know a few of the paths. You step off these paths, you could be lost. And as she says that, and you continue following her, you spot what appears to be a woolen cap floating atop a stagnant pool.
We recognise the cap.
Indeed, it appears to be the cap that or very similar to one that Godfrey was wearing.
Oops.
Is there a body under it, or is it just like the cap floating?
It just appears to be the cap floating. As you're sort of looking at it, Noala says, anyone who gets sucked down into this bog, they'll never find the body. We don't even know how deep this thing goes.
Okay.
There's all sorts of strange legends about the place.
Well, let us say a brief prayer for Godfrey and hope that it was only his cap that fell in, and continue after the laird.
Okay, you continue moving, and after a few moments in the distance, you hear a voice like, "Oh, help me! Somebody help me!" And as you follow Noala, she's like, she sort of looks at you questioningly, Friar.
Let us go and see who it is.
What, off the path?
She says, I don't know any paths that go in that direction. We are going to have to step off the path if you want to go nearby. I wouldn't advise it, but if you want to, you're paying me.
You can poke that friar for that demon summoning. Does it sound like the lead?
It's difficult to tell at this distance. It could be him though.
He has information that we need. So
you want to figure out, if you're going to go off the path, you want to figure out some way so as not to sink.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll step out of my armor.
Okay.
And I will, I guess, if anyone's going to lead, I'll tie a rope between her and I, so whichever one of us falls in can hopefully pull the other out.
Okay.
And then suggest that the rest of the party waits here, and we will return momentarily.
Okay, not a problem. You start drifting off the path, securing yourself before you do so. Make me anyone who's stepping off the path, please make me a wisdom roll.
$22.
Okay, it's difficult going, but you're having to go a bit slowly and be cautious, testing your footfalls as you move, Friar. But you slowly start making your way forward, even though you're on solid ground. At some points, you're up to your knees in water because the ground's sort of undulating and not level. But as you're getting nearer, you can indeed hear this voice slightly louder, and you can tell it is the laird. And sort of through the mists that seem to shroud this bog, you can see him sunk to his neck. Literally, it's just like his head poking up, and he's like, "For the love of God, somebody help me! I'm sinking! Somebody help! Somebody help me!" And you can see he's trying to crane his head back to keep his face out of the muck, but he's slowly sinking.
Okay. So, how far away from us is he?
From where everyone else is still stood with Nuala, but from where you are, he's probably 60 feet away from you.
Okay. So, and how far am I from the party?
About 40 feet.
Okay. So I'll ask, does anyone else have rope? Okay.
Yep, I've got
So-
50 foot and
Okay.
a grappling hook.
So if you tie your 50 foot to my 50 foot, I will pull out and hold on to one end of it. I'll pull the rest of it out. Then I'll tie my end of your 50 foot to me, and I will use my 50 foot rope to throw out to the laird when I get a little bit closer and try and get him to pull in with his one good hand.
Okay, Lieutenant Tuffington, can you please roll me a d6? Anything but a 1.
Is it Sturges, John?
Okay,
I'm hoping for the ogre with the black
6.
diamonds, man.
so the laird's face sort of briefly like dips down under the water, and then he's like, and he's still like shouting out for help, but you can see like he's slowly sinking.
So I'll get as close as I can, and I'll throw the rope to him and try and get him to grab onto his end of the rope, and then try and pull him out.
Okay, so let me make a dex roll for the laird, see if he manages to grab the rope. He does. The rope flies straight towards him. His hand bursts up out of the water and grabs it with his one good arm.
So he's only got one arm to coordinate now, so maybe that's a bit easier.
You did him a favour, Frank.
You've done him a favour, yes. Yeah.
Well, I did save his life just in time to end it now. So I will pull him towards me.
Okay, make me a strength roll.
Oh, not good.
Okay, so you heave on the rope with all your might. However, because he's like almost submerged in this bog, the thick muck pulling him down, you're not able to bring him any closer this round. Lieutenant, can you please roll me a d6? Anything but a 1 or a 2. Okay, the laird, sort of like the lower half of his face has disappeared underwater, but like his nose is still out of it, and he's still sort of like frantically clutching onto this lifeline that you've thrown him.
Okay.
You can see a few bubbles coming up where he's like...
Right. So what I want to do, John, is use my 1d30 as my strength check to pull him out again.
Go for it.
Oh.
Okay, so that's not enough, and it was a d30 roll. So he actually sinks below the surface, and the rope disappears with him. You feel like the rope being like pulled down, sort of like pulling you forwards as he's obviously sinking, still holding onto the rope, and you just see like a trail of bubbles like. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
You think you've probably got maybe 1-2 more attempts to like pull him out, if that.
Okay. So. Okay, just give me a second till I have a look at what else I might be able to do.
Okay. At this point, Jackdaw, can you please roll me a d6? Anything but a 1, 2, or 3.
Yep. Get food.
Okay, so obviously as he hits like a sort of underground pocket of water and sort of is sucked down rapidly, can you please make me a constitution roll, Friar, as this rope suddenly like jerks forward as he's sucked down into the bog.
Oh.
That's fine. So as the rope sort of played out through your hands, like burning your hands as it's being pulled through, you can feel yourself being sort of like pulled forwards, and the only way to stop it is you have to like release the rope, and you see the rope like as the laird disappears under the bog and is sucked down to a possibly well-deserved end.
Without the information that we needed. But okay. So then I will, as delicately as possible, make my way back to the main path so that I don't join him.
That's fine. You make your way back to the others. However, any of the rope that you used in that excursion has been lost.
Yeah.
Both sets are just the one set that he went.
Sam's mine, presumably, because it was tied to the friar.
Yeah, just the one that he was holding.
Okay. Yes, that's my rope is gone then, so
yeah,
you can just call him to yours. Striker.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm guessing that Godfrey was somewhere near his hat, and the laird is no longer with us.
I weep for the laird.
Noala gives you a bit of a curious look.
Shall we move on?
Yes, let us.
Okay, you continue.
I shrug my shoulders and mumble under my breath something about good riddance to bad rubbish.
You continue moving through Bolton Bog, following Nuala, your ranger hireling. She picks away deftly through the boggy swampland and the marshy pools. And eventually, in the distance, you see what appears to be the decrepit, half-sunken remnants of an old barn. And as you're sort of approaching one of the few complete walls of this stone barn, you can see, shining from the other side of it, what appear to be a dazzling array of rippling colours and light. However, you cannot yet see what's causing it because of the wall. What do you want to do?
Sorry, John, could you just tell me what Sir Thomas said about the creature and how it impacted him?
He said he'd seen this creature that he described as looking like three infants joined together, and he had like a dizzy spell. He passed out, and then when he woke up, he went to try and get help. And when he saw Lieutenant Uffington outside the laird's house, because he went to see the laird because he's the authority, he tried speaking to the lieutenant, but he couldn't understand him.
Okay. Okay, so he looked at the creature and he felt dizzy.
Yeah, I think it's the sight of it, yeah.
Okay.
He never mentioned it making any noise or anything, did he?
No, he didn't seem to. And certainly it was sight with the previous object as well.
Yeah. I wonder how you destroy the thing.
It seems to have manifested itself as a humanoid type. Well, not quite humanoid, but...
Yeah. So which part of it do you think this was? So one part was like the brain, one was a communications thing, and what was the other bit?
The other bit's the core.
Oh yeah, the core.
So I'm guessing the other bit was the intelligence.
What, the bit we destroyed?
Yeah, so I think this is the communication piece based on what I did to Sir Thomas.
Yeah.
I never like it when the DM is rolling in the background.
Oh, what? So, have you got any tricks up your sleeve? That may render the thing silent.
I do. And darkness.
I would say they may be a fine ensemble of things. Preventing sound and vision.
Okay.
And presumably it's not that mobile, otherwise would it have left where it is by now?
Yeah.
Because it wants to join up, doesn't it? And the crystals were doing that, weren't they? They were like spreading out to try and find the other bits. And
But it seems like they can't operate as a normal being without each other.
Yeah.
So
the
core reacts one way and that brain reacts another way. So.
And the villagers were being influenced because they consumed the jelly and they were helping to rebuild the core by bringing bits and dropping them in the pool.
Yes.
As the Friar and Big Mick are considering this, Lieutenant and Jackdaw, you're sort of like looking around, taking in the scenery, and you notice sort of moving parallel to you, but like away from the barn, is what appears to be a very small creature. It's about an inch, maybe 2 inches tall. It looks like a tiny man with yellow skin. It has a small, almost like ram's tail and 2 sort of little curled horns. And it appears to be like looking over its shoulder with like a panicked expression, and it's running away from the farmhouse.
What the hell's that?
I have no idea. Probably a sprite of some kind. Forest creature. Shall we take a look?
Like I say, it's running away from the farmhouse you're heading towards. Doesn't appear to be paying you guys any particular mind.
Should we call out to it?
Hey, you.
It suddenly stops and like looks around like a panicked expression on its little face.
What's going on here?
It's like looks in a state of extreme panic.
It's like a Citadel miniature from the Chaos Nurgle army running across the moor, isn't it?
Yeah, just with the hands up like this all the time.
What is it? One of them Zneech things or whatever they are, or Nurgle things.
Yeah, the Zinch, the blue horrors.
Yeah, that's
horrors.
them. Yeah, and when you hit them and they split into 2 and become pink or whatever.
Yeah.
As the lieutenant's like, oh there, it turns around and it's like, ah! And then it sort of goes, and the lieutenant goes and falls face down in the soft mud. A few moments later, you hear a.
I will draw an arrow, get the bow, try and take a shot at it.
Go for it.
Put the lieutenant to sleep, the little blighter.
Yeah. So, John, I'm not sure if you said something there. I think the audio was a bit.
No, I didn't say anything there. I just said, go ahead if you want to shoot it.
Yep. So I'll make an attempt at least. 20.
Wow.
Yeah, that'll do it.
You
Roll your
feeling
damage.
all right?
4.
Okay, your arrow goes like dead on, hits this creature, and it goes and falls down to the ground with your arrow sticking out of it.
If I
Do we
have
still see the lights from behind the barn?
Yeah.
It's one thing after the other, I say as I bend down to slap the lieutenant.
Okay, that whole thing's taking you about 20, 30 seconds. And in fact, as you're bending down to like slap the lieutenant around the face, he starts waking up.
Oh. welcome back, and I'll offer him a hand.
You're obviously
Thank
like
you.
the whole front of you's like caked in mud. 'Cause you've just gone.
What happened?
I think the sprite might have put an enchantment upon you. Something like that. I don't
Can-
know. You blanked and fell down.
Can I understand his speech?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah, he's talking perfectly normal. You can just see as you look across this little like sprite sort of lying there with like an arrow sticking out of it.
Good grief.
You actually feel quite rested, to be honest, Lieutenant.
Yeah, did you take that shot, Jackdaw?
Yes, I didn't want us all to be out for a count.
Now, bear in mind, from a distance of about 50 feet, he's just like bullseyed, like a 1 inch tall,
This
like
tiny.
figure.
I know, it's most unlike him, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've been
Most
having us on.
uncharacteristic.
Yeah, I'm good at distance. Like when I'm up close, I'm blind.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Good shot.
Is there any stones on the ground, John?
Yeah, there's a few like stones and pebbles lying around. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to pick up a stone,
Okay.
and then my plan is to cast darkness on the stone,
Okay.
and then cast silence on the stone,
Okay.
and then walk around the side of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of it. I don't know what else. I walk around the side of the building. I won't be able to see it. So I don't know. I'd say it's a good plan.
So
Sure.
you've got a stone which is shrouding you in darkness and also silence.
Yes.
So like you say, you won't be able to see anything or hear anything, but that might proof you against whatever this thing is. So do you say you're going to walk around holding it?
It was more of a open conversation to the party around.
Ah,
Yeah, but we can't hear you.
Well, I haven't cast it yet. Or two stones, one with darkness and one with silence. I don't know. I just feel if we all go around and if this creature can't impact us, we could all be asleep.
Well, I'm feeling rather rested, so I'll go and have a look. And if something untoward happens, you can always do your trick then.
okay. So Lieutenant, are you walking around the wall towards the shining display of shimmering colours?
If it's too tall to peer over.
Oh, you
Yes,
can
I
peer
shall.
over it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you peer over the wall, and it takes a while for your eyes to adjust to the sheer brightness of this light and colour. And as you look, you can see what appear to be 3 semi-developed, huge, I mean, like sort of, if they were standing up, they'd be like 15 feet tall, but they're like lying on the ground. Human fetuses joined at the back with arms and legs flailing ineffectually. Rippling in waves across the pallid skin of these fetuses is the most dazzling array of colours you have ever seen, and some which you don't even have a name for. The eyes of the entity's 3 bulbous heads are dome-like and blind, covered with oozing, puffy skin. As you move round, you sort of peer over the wall. The 3 mouths, which are perfectly circular orifices, begin to gurgle, wail, and babble in this bewildering, high-pitched, screeching, baby burbling.
There you go. So it's the silence we need.
Yeah. I'll slowly lower myself down behind the wall and report back.
Okay, can you make me a wisdom roll, please?
Shall try. There we go.
Don't forget you've got your D30.
Right.
Okay, so as you come back to the others, you can understand what they're saying. You can obviously sign to them, but when you try and speak or write, it comes out as gibberish. in a similar manner to the knight that you met previously, Sir Tomish.
So if I point to my eyes and then point to my ears, is he able to understand that I'm talking about darkness and
Yeah. He
silence?
can understand you. He just can't respond in a verbal or written way.
Yeah. Big flobble.
Okay.
Jig flobble.
Okay. So if I cast silence on the stone and throw the stone, we should be okay?
Or we carry the stone with us, and carry the stone so we're within a sphere of silence.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Why don't I just remove curse from the lieutenant like I did that night?
I did wonder.
Try.
Well, I was thinking you'd run out of it or something.
No, so we've slept and all since. So again, I'll put my hand on the lieutenant's forehead and say a few words in Latin and cast remove curse.
Okay, your ability to communicate is restored, Lieutenant.
Thank you very much. Praise God.
Praise go. Go.
Praise God. Okay, so okay, so then Lieutenant, it feels like we should cast silence on the stone and walk around and destroy this creature.
Yeah. It's not very nice.
Okay. So that's what we'll do, John. I'll cast silence on the stone and I'll carry it.
Okay, not a problem.
And we'll walk around and I guess.
Okay.
We're just going to attack this thing, are we?
You walk around, your footsteps, your passage making no sound whatsoever, shrouded by the spell that the blessing that the friar has called down, and you see this horrendous combined fetus creature as I described it previously. You can see its mouth sort of opening and closing, but obviously there is no sound. Also, now you're sort of like, you're not just doing a quick peek, you've actually walked around. You can see that there are what appear to be 5 chunks of a strange metal, sort of dotted, like almost like haphazardly like thrown around it.
Are they similar to the star metal we've seen?
Yeah, they seem to be very much the same material.
Okay.
Do they look like they were? Are they like maybe a casing that's broken?
No, they just look like random sort of chunks of metal.
Oh.
And does it look like the creature is trying to reach them?
No, it just appears to be sort of like flopping around on the spot and sort of presumably burbling away in this maddening fashion, but obviously you can't hear it.
Okay. And if I cast detect magic at the creature, do I get the same sense that it's not natural and foreign?
Yes, you do. Very much so.
Okay.
I was going to say, Friar, I could save you a spell there. I've got a good feeling that.
I guess it was more to make sure that it was the organ itself and not some devilish spell that it had cast on some poor.
Right, gotcha. Oh, right, yeah, some creation.
Make sure that the creature is the organ and not
like the sausage monster.
Yeah,
the sausage monster.
Yes. So should we just shoot it from far away?
Nuke it from orbit.
Yeah. Well, maybe not quite, but the way Jackdaw's shooting tonight.
Well, it's virtually nuked it from the other thing. Mind you, what do we think that little yellow thing was, and where did that come from? That's a bit odd. That's a bit weird.
Oh, is it strange? Do you think it's strange, Mick?
Well, I think it's weird.
There's a distinction here that I'm not understanding, perhaps.
I think there's a certain weirdness about everything that's been going on lately.
I think you
Just
might
a
be
small
right.
bit.
It's
I got
like
the
it's
impression it was a natural being.
like a weirdness befell Drig Bolton.
Should we examine it before we destroy the creature, or should we destroy the creature?
Actually, it may have some information if it isn't dead.
So if I go fetch the sprite on a stick,
Right, kebab.
It's still stuck on the end of your arrow.
yeah, put it over the fire, turn it around a bit, crispy.
So what's the plan, guys?
I'll fetch the sprite. Is it gone?
It is indeed dead.
Well, I'll hold up the stick.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's this
so-
there's this tiny human form with a little ram, like inch tall, with a little ram's tail and little ram's horns and pale yellow skin, and it's like speared by this arrow.
What the hell is that all about? For Pete's sake.
I wouldn't know, and I don't know that I care,
No. Should we
except
have,
for what it was doing. So
is it worth having a quick butcher's in the house, or do you just want to kill this floppy thing?
I think I'm hearing the call of London. So whichever gets us going the quickest. And
Okay.
usually I find that is the direct action.
So before we do anything, can I touch the creature and speak in Latin and cast Speak with Dead and ask the creature what it was doing here?
Okay,
Ooh.
you receive no response.
Okay. That's
We need to
irritating.
kill it. Oh, the little man, you mean? Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
that's fine.
Okay, let's just kill this other thing and be gone.
Okay, how do you intend to kill it?
Rakdog's going to take care of it.
Yeah, he's good at killing things.
Okay, you fire a number of arrows which aim true. However, as they hit the creature, they just seem to slide off it with no visible effect.
Hmm.
Can I walk up and strike the creature with the Sword of Gale and see if that works?
You most certainly can, and as you strike it with the Sword of Gale, it does indeed inflict a large hacking wound on this creature.
Okay. So can I continue to do that until it's...
Yep, you effectively chop it into tiny bits and sort of puree it until it's just a thin smear of smudge on the ground.
Okay. And would I be confident that it was destroyed, having seen similar sludge in the previous one?
You think so, yeah.
Okay.
It takes you several minutes of like hacking at it, but eventually, yeah.
Okay. Praise Gale.
Go.
There we go.
Okay.
Pick up a chunk of this metal stuff.
Yeah,
Is it like metal ore? Or
yeah,
is it just
it's metal ore, yeah. It's fairly heavy, but
star metal?
yeah, there's, like I said, there's like 5 chunks of it just lying scattered around this barn. As you have a quick look around.
What happens if I strike the metal with the Sword of Gale?
Bing!
Okay.
The world ends.
Uh,
Oh yeah. I think I'll keep this piece. Looks nice. Might make a.
Okay.
if you do, it's likely that the animals will follow you and try and take it off you, like the bear that took the piece off me. Although this star metal doesn't seem to be generating the goo, so maybe it won't, but I'm warning you, Lieutenant, it was an unpleasant experience.
So make a note, you've got a chunk of star metal.
Can I light a torch and try and burn the star metal that we have? that's there.
You light a torch, you hold the flame to the star metal. It does heat up a little bit, but it doesn't seem to like burn.
Okay.
Could I wander over and have a little investigation of this farm building where our buddy says he lives?
Well, you don't think this can be the place that the knight was saying he lives? Because this place is like obviously been abandoned for a long time, and it's quite ramshackle.
Okay, too close. Yeah.
It looks as though it's like it was once like an old like a stone farm barn, maybe with a thatched roof, but it's obviously been in disrepair for so long, and it's slowly sliding into the bog.
And nothing significant about it, isn't?
Not that you can see.
Nothing come creeping around it, or strange debris other than the star metal.
Not that you can see.
So, do we think this is just a coincidence that this thing has landed here? It hasn't been drawn to this site. It's just parted company with the rest of the thing on the way down.
That's the way it looks.
It certainly didn't seem to be able to move.
No, yeah, right. Well, if we've destroyed 2 parts of it, we've only got one other part.
Yeah, just the core in the crater. And I do think that this lady who hasn't eaten it, I think that she knows something.
Yeah, it's a bit weird that she's abstained from it all. I wonder if she knows something about the summoning. She might have been in cahoots with the laird.
Yeah.
Because I notice there's no woman on the scene. And you know what these lairds are like.
I do. There's nothing in his notes, John, about an assistant or a...
No.
Is there any indication that the ritual needed 2 people?
It doesn't specify a number of participants, only the steps you need to take to perform the ritual. Obviously, more people makes it easier to like do these things. You would know that.
Okay. So what we know is that fire doesn't do anything. And we know that the sort of gale or any sort of force doesn't seem to do anything. So I suggest we go back to the village and speak to this lady and see if she can give us any insight.
So that's the lady at the tavern, yeah?
Yeah, just
Francesca.
Just retrospectively, John, when I was like looking at the brandy and the barrels and all that in the cellar, did I notice if any of that ale was this new hooch that they've been making with the jelly? You know, from the tavern, because she's been making that stuff.
You didn't particularly notice that it had any of the jelly in it. However, if it was dissolved in it, how would you know, really?
I just wondered if the barrel had any markings of...
no, it didn't. However, more worryingly is probably the amount of spirits that potentially contained it that you've been chinning back at the laird's house. Roll me a d6.
Four.
You grant.
Yeah. That's because it was a red dice.
That's it. So, is the plan to go and speak to Frey at the King Deer Tavern?
Yeah, I think that is a bit sus, Fryer. That is a
Yeah.
bit sus.
So let us go and do that,
Mhm.
and then see where we are.
Agreed.
Okay, so as you start making your way back towards the village, determined to find out what's going on with Frey and why she did not partake in the jelly-like manna feast that the rest of the town, praise Gale, is so enamoured with,
Praise God.
that is
Yep.
where we're going to draw an end to the session for this evening, guys. Thank you very much for playing. I hope you all enjoyed yet another bizarre expedition through the Dolmen Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, obviously I'm happy to chat for a bit afterwards, guys, but for now I'm just going to say thanks once again, and to anyone who's watching this, and we are running the Weird That Befell Drigbolton. I'm going to end the stream here.